Diet Coke Gordon, because I'm watching my figure. Right. Let's get my thank you. Right, let's get this fired up. I'll just let it pick itself up. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Right then, so I can see a few people starting to come in now. Evening all the people that are coming on. Right then, people, I'll get my thank yous out of the way. So Lee Ashby here, Motocross and Speedway Memories. Evening all, everyone coming on. I can see you all coming on. How's it going? Right, I'll get my thank yous out of the way first. Big thanks for the support to Simon Pardo of White Eagle Finance. They give quality financial advice for pensions, mortgages, investments and protection. Check the website out at www.whiteeaglefinance.co.uk. Big thanks to the legend Stefan Everts with his S72 gin and vodka brand. Check out his amazing products out at www.s72gin.com. And big thanks to Lee Owen of Owen Developments. They specialise in supplying turbochargers to a global customer base covering motorsport, performance aftermarket and OEM sectors. Check them out on the shop side at www.owenturbos.com and also www.owendevelopments.co.uk. Right then, people. See a few comments coming in. Evening, how's it going, Sean? Right then, people. I'll introduce this man and let's get this underway. Here we go. Right then, people, tonight I've got a cracking interview for you again. I've got 3 times British motocross champion. He is a multi-GP winner and a former world number 3. He's represented Ireland in the Motocross the Nations many times. He's won multi-Irish and Ulster championships. He's now Honda's off-road racing manager. He's none other than an Irish motocross legend, Mr. Gordon Crockard. Let me bring him in. Here we go. How's it going, Gordon?
It's going very well. Thank you very much, Lee. Nice to be talking to you this evening. Thank you.
Same to you, mate. Really appreciate you coming on. Busy time of year, late wrapping going on, kids and all that sort of stuff.
No, I get plenty of notice that Christmas is coming, so I'm quite well organised. We're okay. And given all of the unusual circumstances with no shopping permitted and restrictions in the households and everything else, I've taken full advantage of that and done no shopping and haven't really got anything ready whatsoever. So it's getting very comfortable.
Sounds good. Mine's downstairs doing some now. As we speak.
Go on. It does go on. Christmas
mate.
Does have to happen. Yeah.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? It's full on, isn't it?
Not easy.
Oh, I've got someone's already written, Peter Jones. I'm listening in from Kesh in Northern Ireland. Big Crocstar fans.
Okay. Yeah. Lovely to have the following. It's an honour to have people who want to hear something that I want to say. So it's a privilege actually to have an audience if there is, even if there's just us, Lee. I'm happy. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. We can do some serious reminiscing, Gordon. We were already having a little chat off of air. We probably did race each other at BSMA at some point in the early 90s, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't even know that either. So that was cool to know.
Yeah.
Right then, let's get into it then. So how did you get into motocrossing, Gordon, and what is your earliest memory of the sport? And can you remember what bike you first had?
Yes, all of those memories are well and truly fixed in my mind. I was born into a family that already competed in motocross. My father was a motocross rider. He was Irish champion in 1976. And when I suppose my early memories first of bikes would have been about 1985, definitely 1986 it becomes a lot clearer. We were super fans of 500 Grand Prix motocross and would have travelled to England and watched the Easter British Championship races or bank holiday weekends. We would have taken the camper across with the whole family and just, we were super fans and just followed the sport. And from there, we had summer holidays, same sort of scenario. We went off in the camper and went to Namur in Luxembourg and Farley Castle, Hoxton Park, the main big gun events back then. That's what my dad wanted to go, and he had a network of friends. So I was just born into that, and naturally, as a boy, I was able to pick up that, winners and the riders at the top were very well respected from my father and his network, and then it kind of just fluidly moved down that I also thought that they were fantastic and had admiration for them and respect for them, and I wanted to be, like one of those guys, or even just emulate being one of those guys. And I naturally wanted a bike and wanted to ride. And, I went round the paddock asking for stickers and caps and posters. And, my bedroom was absolutely plastered in all of those posters. And my BMX or my school books were covered in the stickers. And it's just the typical, 80s schoolboy super fan. I got a bike when I was 9. I wanted one much earlier, but my dad held off. He thought that it was too early to get a bike sooner. He didn't want me to ride an automatic bike. He wanted me to learn on a clutch and gearbox bike. So he held off, and I got a bike when I was 9, and that was it. It was our sport, and he got a bike as well, and started riding, and it was just our weekend fun. So it just grew from there. But yeah, it's a similar story to so many. Parents get their son or their daughter a toy, and the toy is a bike, and off you go. And if it's fun and you like it, you tend to keep doing it, and that's the same for me, really.
There's a few hellos coming in. Gareth has put on there, look, nice jumper, GC.
Yeah, Gareth should be working. I know him. He should either be working or there. He's, as you can see, he's a proud parent, so he should either be
I see that,
doing some parenting or some work, one of the two. So, yeah.
I remember Tom Grimshaw's, his dad, David Grimshaw's just come on, put evening, Gordon. We enjoy seeing you in the MXGP and Farley from all the Grimshaws.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to the Grimshaws. I spent some time in North London, not so far from where David and his family live. I was working for Warner Brothers, actually, in movie production. I'm a qualified stagehand, believe it or not. And I got to know David and Tom. They used to come up and ride at Meads Farm, where I was lodging, somewhat in my van, parked in the yard. But yeah, we used to ride together, and it was brilliant fun. And we got to know him then through Farley Castle, and Tom also came and raced on the Honda 150 Championship, which I was manager of. So yeah, we have various different ways of knowing each other, and it's nice that we keep in touch.
Yeah, I take some pictures now and then, so I've took quite a few pictures of Tom and the team there, Team Chambers, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look. Phillips put, where's John?
John's my dachshund. He's a little dog. He's a wee sausage dog. John is very much so in the living room with wife and baby, laid up at the fire. He tends to hibernate in the evening time. So yeah, John is quite the boy. Philip is a painter. He came and painted and decorated the house during the summer. One of the COVID makeovers, like everybody else did. They all fixed up their gardens and fixed up their houses during lockdown. So,
so he knows all about John.
He doesn't have,
Kenny Gardner's put keeper lit GC. See
that photograph? That is a sidecar outfit. Now I'm riding that bike. That's Weston Supermare beach race. Yeah, in 2006. We were riding for a fundraising gig for a charity here in the hospital, Musgrave Hospital, and that's Kenny, passenger. Kenny was a top sidecar passenger back in the day, before my time. So I can't speak of ever witnessing him myself, but I know that he was a good level sidecar passenger, and he asked me would I ride the sidecars in Weston. So we went, and I had never rode it in my life ever before, and we set off down the start straight with everybody else, and tried to learn how to ride it pretty quickly. And we did okay. I think we were around 23rd or something like that. We did finish. But me being like, I was a professional racer at that time, still doing Grand Prix and trying to win British Motocross Championships. And I remember coming into the pits to do our first pit stop, and I was like, right, go, 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 go. Like I was F1 mode. And
Yeah.
and I turned around and I think Kenny had the helmet off and was maybe. Oh, that's what it was. He was pouring a bottle of water over his head to cool down. And as you know, Weston's in October and we're on a beach and it's cold and wet.
Yeah.
So I think physically he was at the limit. He was at the upper limit. So yeah, Kenny's a good boy. So yes.
So the motocross boys didn't mind you doing that then, because it's obviously a bit risky, to put it mildly.
Roger McGee was the team that I was riding for at that time, and I think I suppose I'd earned the confidence in him that I wouldn't be an idiot and wouldn't barrel roll Kenny and myself down the start straight at 100 mile an hour in a 500 Honda. But no, it was okay. At that time, we were a satellite team, and especially now in the position I'm in now, I understand the rights so much clearer about what you can and cannot do. If we were, if we were riding directly for Honda or Team HRC in an official direct capacity, there most certainly would have been contract clauses negotiated about what you can and cannot do, and it's all just to try and reduce risk of any injury impacting on the goal in hand from all the parties involved. At that time, that was at the end of the motocross championships, and I suppose an injury at that stage wouldn't be as detrimental as an injury mid-season or at the start. So it was sort of just let it fly and let it run. But yeah, these things go on,
Oh, I've got a few of the guys coming on, but they forgot to register it, so we don't know who it is. But someone's put the main man, what a hero, and a good friend. So hopefully they'll register that so we can see who it is.
That could be John. He's learned how to type. He's got himself a Facebook account. Could be. You wouldn't know.
Ian Chesterman put, evening GC, what happened to the 150 championship?
The 150 championship ran its course. It was assigned. We had 5 years at it, and it was largely a corporate decision that we would run with it, and it wouldn't run forever. And that was it. It had a term, and the term was run, and in the end it stopped. It was brilliant, and we hit the target. If you look at EMX 250 championship right now, there's so many young riders that came through that 150 championship, and they're a generation. Eventually they'll move on, and there won't be that feed of 150 riders coming through anymore. And it was very, very expensive. Let's put it like that. Honda paid for everything. They provided the whole show. We also, had to pay a fee to the championship promoter, which at that time was Ustream, and now it's had the acquisition from In-Front Motor Racing. So expenses were quite high, and it was difficult to, I suppose, attract all of the young stars of the future, because some of those young stars of the future had maybe picked up a sponsorship deal from their local KTM, Yamaha, Husqvarna dealer, and they didn't want to break away from that to come and race on a Honda in our championship. So, it had the perfect model for what we wanted to do, but to actually get the top kids in from all around the world that maybe ride different manufacturers' bikes in different championships, it got a bit tricky that way. But I mean, I think it was a success. It ran for 5 years, and I know what it cost. It was good that we got it going that far. And at the end of the day, whenever you're dealing with a corporation like Honda, these are all commercial decisions. It's somebody with a calculator and pen and paper, and they're saying, why are we spending this money, and what has this done for the business? Because it is a business. And at some point somebody will come in with an argument stronger than the argument to keep it going. And there will be an introduction of something else. Maybe they decide, right, we're doing really well now in off-road CRF sales, and we want to move now to generators or lawnmowers or Civic Type Rs or goodness knows power boats. let's invest our promotional fund into that instead of CRF. But I think we did okay out of the 5 years. It was good.
Looks like that was Alfie Johnston.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What's a hero and a good friend? So he's come back and said it was him.
Alfie's heavily involved in the motocross track up there at Desert Martin. He's well familiar with the orange sand of Desert Martin. I would say every item of his clothing has some orange stain on it.
Yeah, like that, is it?
Yeah.
Right, I got Sean Brinkley on Facebook. He's put, could you ask what bikes were his favourites and keep any of your bikes?
Well, I certainly had some favourites, there's no question. Why were they my favourite is not a question, but I can elaborate. It's the same as what's your favourite track. Well, some tracks are really nice to ride, but you get terrible results on them. But then there's other circuits that are awful to ride and you hate riding them, but you've maybe had some, great success and you like it because of the fond memories of the victory and the glory. Same with the bikes. Favourite bikes. I still have the race. I actually kept the majority of my race bikes. Year 2000, year 2001, both of those CR250s were brilliant. I loved them. They gave me a tool that I felt was an advantage. I was able to do things with the bike that on another CR250 I wouldn't be able to do. So very, very fond of those. And they only ran that spec for 2 years. The 99 model was largely different and the 2002 model was largely different, and I think the year 2000 and 2001 were both good bikes, and I like them. But yeah, there's various bikes. I mean, two strokes were always way more fun to ride. They were a lot more exciting. There was so much more happening, even the noise of them and how they felt loose and how if you whacked the throttle, the thing went sideways and you got a load of wheel spin. You do that on a 4-stroke and it just doesn't happen. They're just not the same fun. So 2 strokes is most certainly the area where I would say that they're my favorite. And then if I had to pick a particular 2-stroke, it would certainly be those CR250s from 2000 and 2001.
Yeah, very nice. They were very nice. Got Mark Elliott on Facebook. But GC, did you get to build the donkey shed yet? Ellie Belly.
I lodged with Mark in Northampton for 3 or 4 years. He worked for me at different times on the same team. We were together on CAS Honda team right from the very get-go in 1998. The donkey shed, actually, as it turns out, you need planning permission. So that is parked for the moment. And I don't think I'm going to wing it and run one and build one and get caught by the authorities and everything else. So the donkeys will have to make do with what they've got for now, and I will extend it and improve it and renovate it. I have 3 donkeys, Lee, so I have 3 pets.
Right. My mum's had 2 donkeys as well when she was in Portugal.
Yeah. They're lovely animals. They're great.
Yeah.
But this time of year, they need a bit of shelter. Wind and rain, snow and frost. And it's a case of having to feed them every day. And you need some sort of little stable for them. And I do have that. But I'm trying to find a way of doing it so it's less time consuming for me, let's say, something a little slicker of an operation, but they're donkeys, they're so frustrating. You build them a shed and you build them somewhere to have shelter, and then you see them standing outside of it in the wind and rain. You think, well, why would I go through the process of planning permission and spending money if they don't even go into what they've got already?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Fair enough. We've got a couple more comments here that they didn't register their names. Someone's put, enjoy watching from the USA. Yeah. Merry Christmas to you both. So I'm not sure if that's Friday.
I think that's Donald and Avanda, is it? Is it Donald? Trump? No, it's not Trump. No.
Could be any of our top writers
in
America.
Yeah,
literally. Got someone else has been a long been to Mid Wales.
Yeah, I used to race the evening series on Wednesday nights. I used to
Oh,
go
I
over there
remember
and
them, yeah.
loved it. It was class. Riader, loved it. And then I did a load of enduro stuff for fun in the off season as well. Brilliant fun, really good.
Got, Tommy Reeve has put, does he wish he did he wish it all stayed two-stroke? Was it was an absolute weapon on that 250 Honda?
Hard question to answer, really. I prefer two-strokes. I prefer two-stroke racing. I think that four-strokes are easier to ride, and I think that it's narrowed the gap between the great rider and the really great riders. You know, you've got, they're just easier to ride, four-strokes. I think a two-stroke was a better test, and fitness-wise as well, you couldn't just ride a two-stroke, thrash it as hard as you could, and expect that you would last the distance of the race. You just couldn't do that. Whereas on a four-stroke, it doesn't use the same energy. It doesn't use, it just doesn't have the same intensity. You know, as I referred to earlier about, you know, you whack a throttle on a two-stroke, the thing sits sideways and spins. You know, it spins or it wheelies. Whereas on a four-stroke, you know, you open the throttle, it's boring, and it just goes. It goes forward in a rut as well, because they don't spin up the ground the same way, and there's just so much less happening. So for me, I do prefer two-stroke, but I mean, do I wish it stayed two-stroke? It's very difficult to say, because you know, the sport is still great. The sport is still exciting. The 250 four-strokes, I think, put a lot of bums on seats. You know, it's inviting to get on a 250 four-stroke and ride it, more so than a guy, you know, an entry-level guy getting on a 250 four-stroke is probably going to enjoy the sport initially more than an entry-level guy getting on a 250 two-stroke and expected to go out and enjoy the experience of riding it as a novice. You know, so I think the entry level, probably the four-stroke, albeit 250 four-stroke, has probably brought a lot of people in. And you know, all the old dudes that used to race two-strokes, you know, they come back after their midlife crisis and they get themselves a motocrosser. You know, they come out of retirement after they've, you know, had that break of 15 years of growing up their children and so on, or building their business. And, you know, men in their 40s and in their 50s can hop on to a 254 stroke, not being particularly fit, and ride it and feel safe and not be scared of wheel spin or wheelie that you get from a 252 stroke. So it's not all bad about four strokes. I do prefer two stroke, but four strokes has its good points as well.
I forgot, someone didn't register, but they put their name at the bottom, so that's good. They put, great to see the croc on, Lee. I didn't know, been so busy. Nice surprise, big fan, great rider. Merry Christmas to you and Gordon, and Happy New Year. Stay safe, all from Safe Ride Swansea Motocross.
There you are. Everybody's being very nice. I don't know if anybody asking for where's that tenner that you owe me, or what about that time you knocked me off and put me in the bushes.
Exactly that. Yeah, look, this is how we're global. Look, Gordon. Hello, friends. Greetings from Panama. Gordy's great, good career in the MXGP. I know he is a chap that comes on. Comes from Panama. To be fair, I had to look it up when he first said Panama.
Yeah. Time zone. I don't know what time it is there, but it's
I don't know. Yeah.
It's not 7:30 in the evening. I know that.
Right, what's going on here? Nicky Jones, Gordon, my mate Philip Newman often tells us a story of beating you around the farm. Is this true?
There's every possibility. Of no evidence to support otherwise.
His claim to fame.
Well, that must be Wales, given the name of the farm. You would think.
Yeah, that is Welsh.
Didn't
even attempt it.
And Jones is definitely a Welsh name, no doubt.
Yes, it is, yes. Right, David Tunnicliffe has put, just tuned in. I remember Rockstar and Dobby on the Kims.
Oh, yeah. Looks like Predictive Text is taking charge there.
Yeah, he's got killed there, didn't he, by the looks of it?
2002, yeah, James and I were teammates on the Kims.
I presume you mean KTMs.
Yeah.
Dear, oh dear. All right, we got Damon here, Stridham. Met Gordon when I first moved to the UK. He treated me with utter respect and had a lot of time to chat, always very genuine and an amazing rider.
There you are, very kind. Yeah. Damon's
nice
South African, if I have my memory working correctly. I think. I remember.
Got Glenn Phillips on Facebook. Gordy, who was your favourite fat schoolboy rider when you first went adult? Lee Ashby, I've still got the DBR article somewhere. How's it going, Glenn?
Wow.
Another little BSMA ledge. Yeah.
Glenn, what could we say about Glenn? He had times during his career when he didn't have the extra kilos, and he wasn't any faster. Like, it didn't make any difference, you know. And it's a bit like, and he probably won't mind me saying this, but I don't know if he would. But Herring is the same. Like Rob was always, you know, the start of every year you got this, you know, DBR article, new, fatter, fister, slimmer herring. You know, the fish, fitter than ever. And you know, most of the time his best seasons were just when Rob was his normal self, you know, a normal weight. And Glenn, I think, is something similar. You know, he didn't change his speed, you know, regarding what his body weight was, you know. So yeah, I'll go with Glenn. I'll say that Glenn was, if we're calling Glenn fat, I'll say Glenn was my favourite fat schoolboy rider.
I was talking to him not long ago because we're doing this like BSMA reunion meeting I mentioned to you about, and I was saying to him, I remember him when he was on a Bridgestone Honda team in the 80s with the old monkey mask on and stuff. Yeah. A couple of groups younger than me, but yeah, good times. Good times. Well, Dave's come back on to do his keyboard malfunction I had there. I remember them acing a ding-dong at Donington. Can't remember which one knocked the other one off, but it was funny to watch. They were neck and neck, lap after lap.
Yeah, I also remember that occasion. It was one of the Ken Winstanley KWS.
I remember that,
international races. Donington was Jamie's local, you know. We were teammates racing in Grand Prix. James wasn't doing British Championship that year, and things got interesting, let's say.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and it was okay. Like I'm all fair with racing hard, and that's all right. You know, like the objective is to win. You know, it's not like you go first. No, you go first. You know, so we wanted to win, both of us, and there were areas of the track where there wasn't enough space for both of us, and we arrived to the same point together as two true teammates. It was all right. He was the ultimate professional, and when we crossed the line, that was it. There wasn't any, you know, crap afterwards. No afters.
That's good. Yeah.
But I think I know my temper was level 10, like, and I would assume that James was probably the same. But we managed to keep it contained, and it didn't spill over into the pits.
Yeah, that was good. That was good then.
It was good.
That's good. Could have been awkward.
Indeed.
Right, we got a lot of non-registering tonight. That's killing me tonight. Normally they always do that. They click a link before they come on. But me and my son went over to Gordon at Farley Castle Vets a few years ago. It was a real wet one. He was a top man. He had a smile when he saw that me and my son were sharing a set of wet weather gear. I think I had bottoms and my son had the top. Then he let my son have a picture with him. Always enjoyed seeing Gordon doing well in the British Championship.
That's very kind. Yeah, Farley, you know, it's a fun event, and you go there. Well, they say it's a fun event, but let's face it, there's no professionals there, you know. So we're all has-beens, you know, trying to relive, and there's people there trying to establish themselves as able to compete with I don't want to call them the stars, but you know what I mean. You know, there's blokes there that come to race, and they want the blood of the big names, and that's when it gets a bit tasty, because you sort of get talked into going. And for me, I can only speak for myself, but I'll go there, and I hate the expectation, and I hate the oh well, you should be up for the win. And I'm thinking, no, I don't ride, I don't train, I haven't been doing anything that deserves to be better than any of these guys that have done a bit of work. So that, like I say, it is fun. But what's great about it is that you get the opportunity to actually talk to people, because they can just walk up to you then, and they can have a chat, and you've got time to give. So it's wonderful, and it's a good atmosphere. So everybody's generally cheery and chirpy and on good form, and it's a joyful event to go to, to ride or not even to ride, but you do meet a lot of folks that come up and have a bit of chat, and it's good. I like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice to be a bit more relaxed and involve the fans a bit. Hi, Gordy. Tell John I said Merry Christmas and hope he's getting spoiled for Christmas. No name on that one, but everyone's getting on the John thing.
Yeah, he's popular.
No one said Merry Christmas to the donkeys, though. What's going on there?
True.
Merry Christmas to the donkeys. Anyway, is it any of them called Honda, or
no?
You named them all?
Bingo, Jenny, and Annie. So 2 girls and 1 boy. So Bingo, Jenny, and Annie. So they're all.
My mum's named Jenny, so she'll love that. She loves the donkeys. She'll probably be on soon now if she knows you've got donkeys. Right, someone's put, I loved watching you. You were great. Pity about the injuries, or I'd have defo been world champion. I wonder.
Brilliant.
Ryan Green, first MXGP I went to abroad was Genk in 2001. What a weekend with a GC win.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Genk, Genk. Genk was brilliant in Belgium. Pichon and myself had a large margin over 3rd place. And it's not that I've got such a strong memory of that. It's I've actually got the sheets. One of my old sponsors and a real enthusiast and fan of my career, he kept all of the results pages that he got whenever he went to those races, and he kindly gave them to me framed, and I have them. So I'm able to look at the results, and it's brilliant because you go through the names of the riders that you were competing against, and it's like looking through an old program, and you look at the results. The race in Genk in particular, I think we were over a minute ahead of 3rd place, and we lapped up to something like 8th. It was proper, and it was just Pichon and myself. We were trying to win. Well, he did win the championship, and I was trying to fight him to beat him, and that's what drove us on so far. And it was a really good race. And he passed me once, but only for like a corner, and I did a suicide move to pass him back immediately. But I felt that it needed to be a clear message. No matter what you do, I'm gonna win this race. I'm gonna pass you back. Pass me, but I'm gonna pass you back. And it was like that. So it was a brilliant event. I really enjoyed it.
Sounds really good, that one. Yeah.
Golden memory indeed.
Beautiful. Another great former BSMA rider there, Adam Pryor's, but legend.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I've got someone no name on this one's, but Gordon once ran MXGP in Latin America.
We were. Wow, this is a geography one. So Venezuela. Now, where did I race? I need to think. Indonesia, Brazil. So there was a lot of. I can't actually remember. 99, 2000. We did a ton of racing. In I think, but I don't really know what he's referring to there.
No, I'm just trying to work that one.
Yeah.
I've got Dave King's just come on from Farley. Look, attending MXGP or riding the VMX Donations. What event wins?
Well, I know which one pays my bills, and I know which one costs me money. But for fun, it's absolutely VMX DN. I like it. I've been there every year since 2010, so I've done a long stretch, and I've rode 125s, 250s, 500s. I raced there whilst I was still in shape and fast at the end of my British Championship career. And then I retired from racing, and I've gone back as a guest to the sport, let's say. And it's just arm pump, head shake, heart pumping out of your chest,
fingertip jumps, fingertips.
Yeah, there's so many things that you lose touch with, even the wrist, the feeling of just getting like a paintball, an army of men hitting you with a paintball.
That's not good. That's not good.
No.
That hurts now, doesn't
you
it?
sort of come in after the race and you're thinking, right, this was, I got talked into this is supposed to be fun. And there's, your knuckles are bleeding. And your
this is not cool.
are bursting out of your skin. You sort of think, yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Okay, maybe the beer tent is the fun bit,
Dull the pain and all that.
Exactly.
Oh, I've got Nicky Jones come back on. There's obviously some banter thing going on here because we're finally about to hear the truth. This is probably about this race on the farm.
Could be.
I see Phillips is coming back on. What's he saying now? Don't listen to Nicky or Phil, boys. They are on the wind up. Glenn Phillips put that.
Or on the wine, more like.
On the wine, yeah, on the wine and the wind up. He's put, all good, mate. Just busy with work and trying things sorted in Wales and keep my head above water. Glenn's put in.
Very good.
He's all good, right? Right, Dave has put, ask Gordon if he's had a go on the electric bikes and what he thinks racing them will be like for the sport in the future.
Yes, I have had a go on the electric bikes. What's it going to be like? Different. It's not going to be motocross as we know it. So we can't compare. We can't say it's just something new. It's entirely new. It's not going to be anything like it. There's going to be some sensations that are the same. Braking, leaning over, getting the wheels into the rut, accelerating through bumps, going over jumps. There's going to be things that are the same skill sets and feel somewhat the same, but it's very, very different. I think it'll be all right. I think that it's still going to be fun. I think it's still going to be adrenaline. I think we're still going to have fear and we're going to be able to hurt ourselves. And there's going to be competition so that you can challenge yourself and have elation and also misery in defeat. So I think it'll work. But we're going to be stuck with this, combustion was better. 4 strokes were better, 2 strokes were better, ban the electric bikes, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get that. That's going to be attached to it as opposed to just straight up positivity about this is the future and, suck it up, get on with it. I don't know what it might be like, but environmental wise, in terms of, it's getting more and more difficult for the public to accept that men on bikes can make noise and destroy the ground. And in some communities and some members of the public's eyes, that's all motorbikes do, is they annoy people. They make noise and they destroy the universe. They wreck the world. They rip up the ground and they ruin habitat and et cetera, et cetera. So with the noise element removed from it, that's got to be a plus, because we're facing times of more and more strength from the individual going to court or getting on to the authorities. The authorities are able to do more to stop us. You can't just wing it and ride where you want the way that you used to. Everything is becoming so much more controlled and permissions and everything like that. So I think the attitude to adopt to help is, without the electric bikes, we could be looking at the death of motocross. There's not going to be anywhere to be able to ride them, and we're talking 20 years time, maybe more. We're blessed. Like, if you actually look at the the generation that we live in, you know, combustion engines is maybe only got a shelf life of about 100 years. You know, before petrol, there was steam and there was coal. You know, we're lucky that we've been able to enjoy all of the great ways to burn petrol, to have fun, and that's going to go. You know, in the future, that's not going to exist, and it's going to be replaced with something else. And if it isn't replaced with the electric bikes, then there's going to be nothing. So we have to just look at it and
move with it. Yeah, move with the times.
This is okay. You know, if you're thinking big picture, like think 50 years from now, think 100 years from now, there ain't going to be motorbikes burning petrol. There's not. You know, so it has to happen.
The cars are going that way as well, aren't they? The cars are going that way and everything. So
indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Peter and Dorothy Bob on YouTube. Were the two-strokes less reliable?
No. I disagree that they were. They definitely were not. 100% not. They're mechanical. They're easy to work on. The only things that are unreliable are mechanics, you know, or engineers, you know, the human. But a two-stroke engine versus a four-stroke engine, absolutely no difference in reliability. None.
Okay. Cool. Got Philip Newman has put, I sat next to him on the plane home from California in 2001. The man, fair play.
Oh, aye. Okay. That must have been February time. I would have gone to California for pre-season training and testing. And I assume that Philip Newman was out to watch Anaheim or San Diego Supercross. I'm guessing that's how that partnership came about.
Nice. Justin Reed on Facebook's put, is it true that your Mars sandwiches were actually responsible for you winning the 1997 Ulster Championship?
Well, every little helps. I mean,
yeah,
whilst, you know, if I had to make those sandwiches myself, that would have taken time away from me doing press ups or, you know, changing the air filter on my unreliable you know.
Yeah. What was in them though, Gord?
Oh, top secret.
Oh, it's like that, is it?
No, sandwiches frig me, man. Just whatever. Last night's dinner leftovers. Yeah.
No secret. Yeah, look, we are global. Merry Christmas from New Zealand to you guys.
There you go.
Merry Christmas to you. Whoever that was, there's no name on it. But David Darrington put, what was Dobby like as a teammate?
A professional. He had a lot more experience than me, so I actually looked to James as an example to follow. He had been world champion the year before at KTM on 125.
Yeah.
And his career prior to that, you know, he'd rode for factory teams, semi-factory teams. He had a career in America. You know, he was a great example for me to learn from. I liked him, and we already had a friendship, so it was dead easy. It was dead easy. Bike wise, we had completely different taste and different preferences.
On the setup, is it? Yeah, on the setup.
But yes, and it's not like I was dependent on Jamie. I had a lot of confidence in myself from my own background with 250 two-strokes, that I knew what I wanted and I knew the end, you know, goal. So I wasn't sort of running to James and saying, here, what fork springs are you running, or, you know, what gears are you using, or like, it was just, we both had our own thing to do, and we both had the same resources to try and, you know, get what we wanted from. But James was fine. James was dead on. We had a good year. You know, we both were faced with the same problem, which was the product that we were trying to, you know, compete with. And I think there was a level of empathy across the board. We didn't ever fully, declare hands up, say to each other, here, this bike, yeah, I know. Like, you never, you never did that, because you couldn't lose belief in the team that you were riding for, or the engineers and technicians. You had to always think that you're going to get there. And now and again, we would bring that matter up and have a little bit of a laugh about it, and sort of like, the bike. Just leave it at that. We both knew, and we both had to get on with it. There wasn't really anything at that time in those circumstances that we could do. We just had to try and make the best of it.
I got Dan Merrifield. Just put hi Lee and Gordon. Ask Gordon if he has had a go on Tim Guys' 243 bike and any Fox HRC Honda freebies available.
No, I haven't rode Tim's bike, and I don't wish to. Because that would involve another trip away from home. So it would, to do that. No, the bikes. I haven't asked, and I wouldn't want to. I don't think that I'm not curious about the bike, and I don't feel that I have anything to contribute either to those guys. They're the experts, they're the specialists, and I'm just an ex-rider at the end of the day who has my own opinions and my own experiences from the bikes that I raced. So I don't think there's any value in me actually going and having a ride on it. And I don't have a motivation to ride it either. I'm not bothered. I expect that it is very good. It's winning world championship races and world championship titles. I don't need to get on it to understand, is the bike like Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes or anything like that. I don't need to do that. I'm happy enough to watch Tim ride the bike. Any Fox HRC Honda freebies available? Freebies don't exist in this world. There's no such thing. There's currency of all manners. There is, but no, getting something for free, not likely, unfortunately.
No. Good try, Dan.
I know it's Christmas, but no.
Trying to catch you. Mark Unwin, he's put, it was always a treat watching you ride and coming over to Northern Ireland, and was always the best event on the calendar, brackets and the parties in the Odyssey. Yeah,
Mark's right, and thanks. We were, as someone from Northern Ireland, as a native from here, I was very proud that the British Championship came to Desert Martin and came over here, and it was a pleasure to welcome the circus of all of the traveling teams, riders, fans, and the general British Championship community. It was a pleasure to have them come across, and we always wanted everybody to feel welcome, and we always wanted to have a good time and have good racing, and just maximize really the opportunity, in a hope that we left a good lasting impression, that this place and where we live is positive and fun. We're an island. It's a pain in the ass to get here. You got to drive to Scotland, you got to pay Stena Line a complete fortune, and you got to take time to get here. And I was aware that so many would look at it and think, why on earth are we having to drive and get a ferry to do a race in Ireland, albeit Northern Ireland, and this is the British Championship? There are umpteen British Championship standard tracks throughout the mainland that we could go to. Why do I have to go there? So I felt that we needed to show appreciation, and make an effort that it was good. So the Cookstown and District Club made a great great job of presenting the track, and they negotiated deals with Stena Line for the ferries and got some discounted rates, and really just did everything that they could to make the pain of the journey as less as possible. And then the after show, the party afterwards was something that, because we would race on a Saturday, which is just standard issue here, whereas most UK stuff is all Sunday racing. Yeah, so like racing on a Saturday night out, things dreams are made of. You race all day and then you party all night. Like, why not? Yeah, so we always had a real good laugh and had a lot of fun.
That's good. Good times. Louis Kerr put bring back that Russian track in 2002.
Oh yeah, that was an unusual place to go, on an unusual event. I remember it was like a ginormous bomb hole in the ground, obviously. Where else would a bomb hole be? But it was just this huge, like, it was almost like a quarry. And the circuit was down in the ground. It was really, really strange, and it was an unusual event. Moscow wasn't easy to get to. There was some confusion. Confusion's the wrong word. There was some issues with getting all of the bikes there. The trucks that were bringing the bikes, for some, didn't make it. And in the end, a lot of the teams had to borrow bikes from anybody that owned a bike. So the guy that was doing technical control, if he owned a YZ125, well, maybe Brian Jorgensen was going to ride that bike in the Grand Prix, and Billy McKenzie maybe rode a bike that some spectator offered for rent or something, and it was crazy the way it went. At that time, I was fortunate to be riding on KTM factory team, and they drove there with the van and they had the bikes, but something went wrong with the transport and the cargo. There was rumor of some of the Italian teams putting some cheese and Parma ham and a bit of wine into one of the crates, and this got the whole thing stopped because it wasn't listed on the carnet at border. Don't know the details, but what I do remember is watching World Championship Grand Prix riders riding on these old shit-heap bikes, that they had plucked from wherever they could possibly get them. So it was bizarre. With other issues as well. Stayed in I would describe a decent hotel in Moscow, and loads of stuff got stolen out of our rooms, and my mechanic, his passport got stolen, and he had to go to the British Embassy, and all of these complications. Christ. Yeah, it was just special. It was special, and seeing Moscow with I don't want to say mafia, but seeing the blacked out Jeeps on triage, and then seeing the Skodas, and the horse and carts sitting at the traffic lights, and you're just looking at this real divide between the two, and trying to reason with it somehow was just, I couldn't. It just was something that I'd never seen before. For a kid from Northern Ireland to go over and see that in Russia was just, wow, special.
Yeah, very. I've got Ian, he's put, sorry Lee, don't need to be sorry mate, he's put, I always ask about the Namur questions, but what was GC's memories of that track?
Well, I was a fan as a kid. And I had been there many times, camped in the woods, had all of the, I don't know, I nearly said Barmy Army, but it's not the Barmy Army, all of Dave Thorpe's fans, versus all of the Belgian Joubert, Gabors, Malherbe fans, and the bonfires and everything else, and like down at the cafe, the Chateau de Monuments, blasting down past a pub with all of these, beer-soaked fans. Just brilliant. Like, really, to see that as a kid, and then for me to get the opportunity to go there and race and ride laps of that track and be part of it, truly was, amazing. And something that I'm so grateful I was able to do. There's different things about Namur which were very different to normal motocross. You know, if you know anything about the track and you've looked into any of the history of it, the amount of times that you crossed over cobblestones or crossed over some tarmac, or you know, you're even using like little curbs as something to turn off, and you know, S-ing through those trees was like some sort of Hunger Games experience on a motocross bike, because you're trying to go as fast as you can, but you're also aware that if you overshoot a little bit or you go offline a little bit, you could go off and into metal railings or into a parked car, or into somebody's house, or into a tree. You know, it was proper different. There's a few things. The sun shining through the trees, at some points it was like having a strobe light in your eyeballs because of the flashing of the light. There was times when going up the steps, remember the last step jumping up, if you hit that with a bit of go in you, you definitely would have hit your head on the trees. So, you know, so you always had to either duck, or you had to be wise not to give it too many beans and jump too high and hit your head on the trees. I remember coming out of the trees and jumping into the Citadel was like jumping into an oven. You know, it was so hot. You like in the trees, the shade, it was cool. And then jumping out, not on every occasion, but there were times when that happened. So there were such, it's just so different to other sorts of motocross, but brilliant experience to be able to do it. And sometimes, you know, it was really frustrating, in particular if they watered it very badly, which they really didn't ever do. They didn't tend to need to water it in the trees because the shade, the moisture stayed in the dirt and you didn't have dust in the trees. But there would be times when they've maybe had a lot of rain and the track was wet, and it would dry out with maybe just a few ruts, very narrow. And if you went offline and into the sloppy, slippy stuff, it was going to be 100% slower, or maybe a crash. So if you didn't make a start, it was hard to pass, and that was frustrating. I know that Stefan had a year when he found one spot on the track where he could pass, and the rest of the lap, he was just sat behind, not able to do anything. And without that one spot of being able to pass, you would just be sat behind. So I've been that guy in races there, stuck behind people and just going out of my mind trying to find somewhere to make a pass, and sometimes those passing opportunities never come and you end up with an absolutely rubbish result and you're just left with so much frustration. So it's a good experience to have the opportunity to race there. I loved it. It was good. I've been back and had a walk around and stuff and reminisce, but no, it's good.
Got Michael Carey on Facebook's put, Gordon, do you remember talking to my rider Nathan in Port on the way back from the Unco MXGP?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Nathan raced in Mexico. I was there as, you know, representative for Honda, and we were passing through security, and I spotted something that told me he was a rider. And I just opened a conversation with him and started having a chat, and we looked at, exchanged contact details and looked at possibilities of Nathan coming to be a replacement rider for any Honda riders that we may have had injured. And in the end, the opportunity never came round. With the European motocross teams that compete in the World Championship, there's quite often an abundance of replacement rider options who are maybe racing locally in British Championship or Italian or French, or, you know, they're not racing the MXGP Championship, but you're able to measure their level in other championships, and they normally get the call up before you go looking for a rider from overseas. So with Nathan, that was very much the case, and he didn't get the chance that we had discussed. He didn't get the chance to come over and have a go. But yeah, we met going through airport security in Mexico and kept in touch for a while. But it faded out because, and I felt bad because he kept popping up saying, I'm here, don't forget. And I was like, I'm sorry, but there's no options to be able to offer you anything at this moment. And eventually, I assume his enthusiasm ran thin, and we didn't keep in touch the way that we did for a while.
Fair enough. I got a Gaza on YouTube. It's put, what team would you have raced for nothing because you enjoyed the people and the racing improved so much and you were sad to leave afterwards? So I've never heard of that, Chris. That's an unusual one there, Gaza.
Well, believe it or not, I raced for more of my career for nothing than I did as a paid rider. So I've got lots of examples. You know, you start out as a hobby guy. Your mum and dad are buying your bike, and then if you start doing well, you can attract some form of support from sponsors or from someone who wants to promote their business through you. I know that is a sponsor, but a lot of the time in motocross, your sponsors are just associated friends or people who want to help you. They maybe don't commercially get anything out of it. You know, motocross isn't exactly a brilliant sport to plow, you know, your money into if you're thinking about, you know, making promotion. But the way that it works is you just end up with this little team of your own, and whether it be your mate helps out with driving, or your mate helps out with changing tires, or, you know, you just end up, and there's so, you think about all of the examples of who you go racing with, and how you end up on race day, you know, with the people that you have around you, and you go through that, and then you end up, you know, maybe signing up and racing for what you'll class as a official team. And that's not, you know, that's the people who are on that team, that's decided for you. It's not your choice of who you're going racing with and who you spend your weekends with. It's the team manager and the team owner. They decide who the mechanics are and the drivers and your teammates. You know, and then what tends to happen is you go through that and out the other side, if you continue to race after being a professional, you go all the way right back to how it started as a hobby guy, and you go out on your bike with your mates. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. It's meant to be fun, and you're supposed to spend your weekends having a laugh with your buddies on your bike. So, you know, I have spent lots and lots of time on a motorcycle, riding for nothing, racing for nothing, spending my own money, spending my parents' money, you know, just to have a bit of fun on the bikes. So it's a bit like that, and there's more and more of those cases than there are the other way.
Yeah, definitely. I got Richard Myrums. He's put, hi Gordon, what was your best memory with the CAS Honda team and any funny stories?
Best memory with CAS Honda team, I would say the first victories, the first British Championship victory, the first World Championship Grand Prix win victory, the first British title. You know, all of those landmark first wins were, you know, unforgettable. You know, we went through some hard times. Scott died, Harry's son. He was killed, and afterwards the human kindness and the I suppose it's love and care and humanity that was strongly displayed in the team. Everybody was deeply hurt and upset about what had happened, and your emotions were really magnified, and we continued to race. The team continued, and that, I remember, was lovely. Seeing that beautiful act of human beings was really, really nice, because it was a very, very difficult arrangement of how Scott was killed and what we were doing at that time. And actually racing at Namur was the next race that we did, and it was only days after Scott was killed. And you know, we didn't have to go, but Harry, team owner, father of Scott, he wanted us to go. He said, we're going, and we're going to try and win. I didn't win. Demaria beat me in both races, and I was second. But albeit for the flying to flee Demaria that happened to get out of his lazy bed on the right side that morning. He smoked everybody, which was unusual. I think it was the only race he won all year. He friggin' won both of them. But that was good. And I mean, any funny stories? Yes, absolutely. Several. I started on that team in '98, and it came about through, I suppose, Honda. Roger Harvey at the time was the Honda UK guy, and he was putting the deals together. And Roger had tried for me to make the switch from Yamahas to Honda the year before, and he wanted me to race on Hondas in 1998, and he went the extra mile and reached out and got a sponsor to add to the pot, and the sponsor was Harry, and he basically said, look, we'll get you somewhere to live in England, and then it just grew, and I was supposed to be just on a Honda with a bit of help from CAS, and then Harry decided let's form a team, and he formed the team, and he went like supersonic speed from help this guy out and give him, you know, lodge him in a house, to let's form a full team, and it grew. So I was there from day one, right up through to 2004. Had one season off when I rode the KTM in 02. So I had a lot of years there, and you can imagine over that whole period of time, we all grew, and we went through a big learning curve, from what it started out to be to what we ended up with, and it was brilliant, and things that went on. The characters involved in the team over the years, like Jussi Vehviläinen, the kid from Finland, Yoshi Taka Atsuta, Josh Coppins, myself, Neil Prince. You know, there was a mass array of different characters. You know, Paul Coward from Cumbria was on the team racing in the UK championships, and like then the mechanics and things like that, and even Harry himself, you know, remarkable person, unusual character, very interesting things happened and went on, and like, you remember some of the stuff with just amazement of how it happened. I know it would be great for full disclosure, and I'll tell you this story and tell you that story about things that happened and things that people did, but I don't know that it would be for the greater good that we get all of that stuff out. But we enjoyed every aspect of it, and it started out, you know, we wanted to, it just grew out of control. You know, we ended up like, we're winning British Championships, we're winning Grand Prix races. Like, we never ever intended for that to be the goal, and we sort of arrived to it like, well, what do we do now? You know, we didn't. We don't belong in this place. That's the way I felt about it, and we couldn't ever disclose that. You know, you had to act like, oh yeah, we mean business, yeah. But in reality, it wasn't that. It was like sort of, you know, rabbit in the headlights. You know, okay, so how, and it felt like a pantomime. You know, you were constantly just. It was like playing a video game where you were like, let's okay, so I have to be interviewed, and I have to talk about challenging for the world title or winning a British Championship, and those things. Like, there's no handbook to any of that stuff. And some of the things that went on was just, just the total train crash, train wreck. But you don't see that from the outside, but in reality, those were the things that were going on.
Bit of a whirlwind at times.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, we've got David Mulligan's play. If you wrote a book, it would be a bestseller. Please write a book. Ask Gordon about the rider Norris.
Yeah, Davey knows me well. Writing a book, no. I'm not going to. There's not. I like to read and I like input. I like to learn things, and I have to say this probably will sound very selfish, but if I'm writing a book, that's very time consuming, and that's all output, everything. And I know that it's lovely for folks to want to know what went on, and blah blah blah. But no, I can't be doing that. But the story about Norris. We were racing round 1 of the British Championship in the year 2000 at Canada Heights, and there were a few guest wildcard riders. I remember Ivo Leak was riding, and sometimes Tortelli was there, and they would use it as a warm-up race ahead of Grand Prix season kicking off. And I knew that there was somebody behind me who I couldn't identify. I didn't know, and it was difficult at the start of the year anyway, because team change, rider numbers, gear. It was always hard. It took a minute or two to figure out who's who. Yeah. But there was this bloke behind me, and he was catching me, and I was leading the race, and he was on a KTM 520. And he had this really ugly race shirt on. It was rock oil, like just rock oil, and it was blue, and that's all it said on it. And he had this big high number, and I could sort of catch a glimpse of him every now and again, and I could see that the gap was closing, and I was panicking. And the pit board, all I got was, as it says, Norris, but there wasn't a space. It should be no rest. Push on, no rest. Yeah. So I was getting this Norris and frantic wave pointing behind. And I'm thinking, who the fuck is Norris? I've never even heard of this guy.
It's brilliant.
He's catching me, and look at his stupid rock oil shirt, and he's riding a 520 tractor. Who is this bloke? And that was the guy. It was Ivo Leak, actually.
I was just about to say, who was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was Leak. Yeah, was it?
Yeah. So, but no, it's stuff like that. We keep these. They're not like clear memories, but we keep the jokes going, and that's how the memories stay alive and they go on.
Good. That's good. I've got no one's name on this one. They've put, out of all the times Gordon raced the EMX Nations, what year and track was the most memorable and enjoyable?
I had a great result at Zolder in 2003. Carmichael, Everett, Smets, and then me. And that was the order. And I mean, the result was what made it so, memorable. Really, really special. I also raced St. John d'Angely. Greg Albertine was riding for Factory Suzuki in the States at the time, and there was a few others, but that was kind of like year 2000 was Travis Pastrana was over, Carmichael, Ryan Hughes, and I remember like this 2000 was the first year that I arrived onto the World Championship scene, sort of within, inside the top 10. I got a couple of Grand Prix wins, and I was able to race in the nations and actually compete with my stars and my heroes, and that was brilliant. And that was the only time that I raced with Albertine. And it was towards the end of his career. But at the same time, I think he was maybe American national champion that year. So it's not like he was, washed up and, heading back home to SA. He was still fast. And I remember that as well as being a real moment of pride. I'm racing at the Motocross of Nations. I don't know how many spectators were there. It felt like there was 80,000. You know, it was massive. It was so hot as well, and that was still the time of Europe versus America. You know, everybody wanted to beat the Americans, and I felt part of, you know, the actual race, not, you know, struggling mid-pack or struggling, you know, to even qualify, and that sticks in my mind as well. But no, there's been a few. The first Motocross of Nations I did was Jerez in Spain in '96. You've maybe seen some images of the ginormous triple jump down the hill. Jeff Emig doing it and stuff like that.
Yeah, see that,
that was the first time I'd raced internationally in '96. I was only 17, and there was another moment that just blew my mind. You know, arriving and from a kid who had only been racing in Ireland and some, you know, small races in England, I went there and it was just huge. It was overwhelming. You know, so those things stick in my mind, and they're very memorable. And the result at Zolder, you know, finishing fourth, you know, enjoyable like that, just because of the result. Like, don't get me wrong, the race was pain and suffering and taking risk and heartbeat near to your chest. You know, there's no fun in that. But getting the result is where the fun is.
Some special riders there, yeah, for sure. I had a question for that as well. What actually were the riders did you actually look up to and idolise when you were young, Gordon?
Well, Herring, you know, Rob was to me my go-to guy, where I just thought he was class. You know, I loved his style, I loved his attitude, I loved how flamboyant he was. He had flair, and I know he didn't rack up the championships that Dave Thorpe did, or, you know, even what Kurt Nichol did, but I just looked at Rob and I thought, he looks like he's having a lot of fun, and he is extremely talented on that bike and what he can do on that bike. And he was fun to watch. He was approachable. You know, I'd asked him for his jersey, he'd given me stickers, I got an autograph. Like, he was just, to me, he just fitted what I liked. Rick Johnson, but I never had access to see Johnston race or talk to him or anything like that. You know, I actually thought that Jeff Leask was a cool guy, and I liked his riding style, and, you know, he didn't come across in the same manner as being manufactured, the way that, you know, Thorpe, Nichol, Gabors, Jobay, those men are products of hard work. You know, they were just machines, which I also have admiration for, but probably only have admiration for once I had to do that same level of work and application myself to be a professional. But before being a professional racer, I looked at Leask and Herring and Johnson, because they just looked like guys that could ride bikes brilliantly, and it looked like they had fun. You know, so that they were the men for me, really.
I did an interview with Jeff Leask as well. He was really cool. Yeah, he was really good. Nath Coates, he's put, Gordon, thank you for the signed shirt you gave me when you rode for Dixon. It was a pleasure to work with you, man. Very
good. Yeah, I rode for Steve in 05 on Yamahas on 450s. Yeah, no, you're most welcome. The shirt probably belongs to Fox, so you can thank them. I was just the middleman.
What was that bike like, Gordon? What was that Yam like at Dixon? What was that like?
Well, on paper, you would say, yeah, it's class. You know, if you order a new BMW and you go with all of the added extras, this was it. You know, we had factory Olin suspension. We had Stefan's engines from 04, his Fernaldi engines. You know, Steve built a bike with all of the spec. You know, there it is, actually. But it didn't work for me. It didn't. I didn't have confidence in the suspension, and I actually didn't have confidence in the procedure to how we arrived to the bike. I was given it, and there you go, there's a good bike, ride it, as opposed to me riding and going, do you know what, stock bike's all right, but I could do with a little bit more in the middle or a little bit more up top, or, you know, maybe the foot pegs further back would be better, or maybe the suspension could this or that. You know, it was kind of like I got given something and told, there you go, that's a good bike. And I felt pressure because it was Stefan Evert's World Championship winning engines. These are good. The evidence is there to support that these can go fast and these can win races. What's wrong with you? You know, why you not going the same speed as Stefan? And then with the Olin suspension as well, that just didn't gel. That didn't work, and I had a terrible time. And I broke my wrist and never ever got comfortable. I broke my scaphoid, had to have surgery, had to have 4 months off. You know, it's just a disaster from what we set out to do and how it went. It was awful.
I've got no name on this one, but they put the 80s and 90s were the golden era, best tracks, best riders. What does Gordon think about the British talent now in the tracks?
Well, subjective view, because if you were to ask the British talent of now, I don't think they would say that the 80s and 90s are the golden era with best tracks and best riders. They'll think that what they're doing right now is the best, with all of your scrubs and your wave sections and your groomed ripped tracks and, you know, multiple corner entry ruts. They don't have the comparison. That's why they'll feel that. 80s and 90s, I agree, they were very good. What I think about the British talent now and the tracks, well, I'll try not to share my opinion about tracks because I'm really strongly opinionated about the tracks. It's more the preparation of them. It's not the layout, it's not the jumps. I'm totally anti rip water circuits, totally against it. I think it causes for multiple injuries when the riders crash, because when you fall on circuits like that, you don't tumble, you don't slide, you don't roll. You get your bottom part of your leg stuck in one rut, your arm stuck in another rut, and somewhere in the middle your body hinges and snaps. You just stick into the ground and you get hurt. You get big concussions because you go into the mud and you stick. Even so from a safety side, I'm way against that. Heavy ripping, heavy watering, multiple ruts. I don't think it works. It doesn't create more lines. I think that if you have a blank canvas circuit, the way that they used to be in the golden era, as this Facebook user has stated, the lines develop. You start out on the racing line like a Formula 1 guy or a MotoGP guy, and then it gets too bumpy and you move off it. And eventually, it basically, look at Farley Castle, and it starts out, you know, flat, and then it gets bumpy everywhere, and you get berms and you get ruts, and you can move from one side of the track to the other in a diagonal. You don't have to slot your wheels into a rut and ride from point to point. You can move around, you can set people up, you can come out wide, square off, cut in, move out, reel around the outside. It's just so many options you can move about. British talent, what do I think about the British talent? Well, I am not attending British Championships or British youth races at the moment. I go to MXGP, so I can only comment on the riders who are British in MXGP to really answer that question. I think that it's difficult to come into Grand Prix and make it through into that top 10. I think that I think there's a big gap between the services and the infrastructure of the teams. They're not all the same, but if we're looking at it, you know, on average, the top teams, factory teams, there's training bike mechanics, there's training bikes, and there's a trainer, and there's a physio, and there's a whole army of people to care for every need that the rider might raise and might have. And the kid just has to work on the riding, and if he's not an independent person, he can look to the team to learn from them and take from them. So Tom Vial, for example, Tom came into that team and Smets is there for him. There's the footprint of all of the champions in MX2 before him with the bike, so he's going to believe in the bike. If Tom were in another team that infrastructure wasn't there, would he have been world champion? Well, I don't think he would have been. I think that Tom is a talent, but the team brought out the best in him. So for a young Brit to come through and to actually get the best of himself and to maximize his potential, it's very, very difficult to do that without getting opportunities and without getting placed into those scenarios like I've just gave as an example of Tom Vial and KTM. So it's not like it used to be. It is different to the 80s and 90s. The factory teams are working for the rider more so than the rider just comes and rides for the team. Those top teams that are well supported with budget are employing specialists to work with these young guys and get the best out of them. So it's different to how it used to be. So the young talent now have a different challenge than what it used to be. It's not the same.
Some Nicky and Mark Young's put Farley Castle now or Farley Castle back in the day.
Well, I mean, now there's only a bunch of old men riding around on old bikes. Back in the day, it was, the pinnacle of the sport. It was absolutely, it was the British Grand Prix, and the world's best riders and the world's best machinery and teams came to compete against each other. And, how lucky were we as Great Britain to have them come, that we could see that and inspire us. So 100% Farley Castle back then was it. That's definitely the answer there.
Yeah, I think 1989. I think I was only 12. I saw Thorpe in there. That was my first big race I watched, and that was amazing.
Yeah,
really cool, very cool.
I was there. Yeah,
yeah. Must have been about the same age roughly then.
Yeah, I would say
11, 12. Yeah, it was a major thing. Richard Mirams has a nice comment. You are looking very well, Gordon, and the years have been kind.
Definitely Christmas, that's for sure. Generous with their comments. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I turned 42 last week, so 42.
Looking good, mate. Simon Howells, YouTube. Proudest moment in racing. Nations, GP wins. Sort of touched on it just a minute ago a little bit.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, there's a few. I mean, winning a race is okay, or doing well in a nations is okay, but actually to set a target of winning a championship and meeting it, I would actually say that winning my first British championship was what I'm most proud of, because you can be a flash in the pan, you can be lucky, you can get a day that the track suits you, the conditions suit you, you maybe just hit form on that day and everybody else is off form. But to do it in a championship, where that is your goal. Now, I know that you could say, well, how can you relate or compare, winning a British championship against, a Grand Prix win? But it was more at that time, that British championship was a big thing for me to win, and it was a big target of mine. It was a big goal of mine, and all of the preparation that I did to try and win the British championship in year 2000 prepared me so well that whenever I showed up at the first Grand Prix in Talavera, I won. The work that I did to win the British championship was good enough to win actually a Grand Prix at that time, in that year. So, to to get the British Championship in year 2000, I think proudest moment overall. You know, it's I know a season of 7 months of racing isn't really a moment, but it in terms of goals and achievement, that's probably what I'm most proud of.
I did have a question about that as well, about that GP win. I remember that in Spain. I remember that clearly. It was sort of, would it be safe to say it wasn't expected?
It was totally unexpected, 100% accurate.
I remember you literally just smoking everyone, and I'm sure you surprised yourself at the time.
Yeah, no, it was. It was
amazing, though.
I didn't expect to do that at all. Nobody did. It was unexpected. The lead up to that moment, 98 didn't qualify in Talavera. 99 didn't qualify in Talavera. Year 2000 wanted to qualify. That was the actual objective. Qualified, I think, about 23rd or something like that. Wasn't great, but my qualifying speed was the same as my race speed, and that was the way I was. You know, all of my training and all my preparation was all for the race. I wasn't wise enough then, knowledgeable enough to know that I needed to actually prepare for qualification and doing flat out lap times.
Sprint laps, yeah.
Sprint laps. So I qualified 23rd, and I got the whole shot, and I led every lap, and I won the race, and I couldn't believe it. I just was riding, and my lap times in the race were probably the same as my qualifying lap. I just was doing them over and over and over again for the 45 minutes of the race. And I had roll-offs, because that's what you had then, with 2 tear-offs on the top. And this is one of my favorite things of the whole event. I didn't even pull a tear off, and I set my goggles in the sun between races and used the same goggles for the second race.
Did you?
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Which is unheard of. You know, I just let the sweat dry. But yeah, the race in Talavera was mind blowing. It just seemed like they're going to come. They're going to catch me. Why am I pulling away? What's happening? You know, why are they going so slow? And then I was like, right, we're half an hour into this race and nobody's caught me yet. I'm going to get tired, you know, and I'm thinking I'm going to get tired, and I didn't get tired. And I won, and it was magic, absolutely magic. You know?
Yeah, I remember it really clear. Really cool, very cool. Right, I've got Adam Fry. Hi, Gordon. I know you and Josh became close when he was based in Ireland. How did that come about? And can he keep up with you on 2 wheels when there's no tarmac involved? Happy Christmas, Adam Fry.
Very good. Brooks was racing for Suzuki, doing the BSB, British Superbike Championship. Yep. And the official Suzuki team was based here in Northern Ireland. Philip Neal is the owner of that team. It was CAS. And at that same time in 2011, Philip also had the contract with Suzuki to run the Suzuki GB motocross team. So I was riding for Philip's team on the motocross side, and Josh was riding for Philip on the road racing side. And Brooks was using motocross for all of his preparation, as he still does now. So we became training and practicing partners, and then just became really good friends, and still are. And that's how it went. Brooks, believe it or not, is, I was going to say, remarkably fast, but I'm not surprised, because he does so much training and so much practicing. And he has to keep a lid on how hard he pushes, because obviously a crash from pushing too hard could injure him and put him out of his actual profession. So he doesn't hang it out big time. But I would imagine that if, 20 years ago he was given the option to go down the road of professional motocross, he probably would apply himself and could put himself in, to the top ranks, no problem.
I got Dave King did come back on and put Gord is a top bloke. Only missed 2009 and 2017 VMX Donations. Thank you, Gordon.
Yeah, 2017 was because I got married, I think. And '09, I don't recall. '09, I was all smashed up, I think, from a crash at Hawkstone. So yeah, I do enjoy it. And Dave's very good at encouraging me to come and race. He welcomes me in with his big open arms that he has.
Actually, talking about that, I did have a question for that as well, so we'll get that out of the way while we're talking about that. What actually happened in that big crash at Hawkstone then? That was in the first corner, was it?
Yeah.
I remember it, yeah.
Wouldn't even call it a corner. It was more like a little kick. Yeah, you go up that start straight and into those trees, and I favoured the left-hand side for starting on the gate. And my memory is that off I went, and we weren't 30 seconds into the race. We weren't 5 seconds into the race. And there was some, in my peripheral vision, there was some movement and kaboom over on the right side. And then all I recall, and this all happened in a split second, all I recall is bikes, metal coming across me and just wiping the wheels from beneath me. And I hit the ground and impact. And then it was I'm laid on the ground, not able to breathe, in a lot of pain. Mark McCann was there. I have a faint memory of him being there. He was a friend, and he was comforting me. And I knew that I had internal problems because I couldn't get a breath. And what happened was I got bundled onto a stretcher and put into the back of an ambulance, St. John's Land Rover, like something out of Dad's army, and shot off to Shrewsbury Hospital. There were roadworks on the way. They got lost. It took 40 minutes for me to arrive to the hospital. Even better, I convinced the bloke in the back of the Land Rover that I was in that much pain I needed to get off the spinal board. Like, I'm on the spinal board because I'd broken my back. I'd broken L1, 2, 3, and 4. And I just knew that I needed off because I couldn't breathe. So into the hospital, and immediately into the death donut, the scanner. And they pulled me out of it. And I had lost all of the blood in my body. It had all gone into my stomach, and I was dying. And I got the defibrillators, kaboom. I had immediate surgery. They removed my spleen, which was smashed. It went in the bin, and I had 5 broken ribs, broken collarbone, and 4 broken vertebrae in my back. I was in intensive care for 10 days. I lost 2 stone, and at that time I was only 13 stone. Like, I was in my racing weight, fighting weight. And it was awful. It changed everything. It changed everything. And I wanted to. I didn't want motorbike racing or bike riding to be taken away from me. I felt that I needed to come back and ride. I wanted to overcome the fear that I had, and that was hard. I was scared. When I came racing, I started racing again late in that year, and that's when the fear wouldn't go away. In a setting off the start, I just would arrive with caution. When groups bunched up at speed, I felt in danger. I just thought, I don't have control of this situation, and I can get wiped out again. And I couldn't overcome that. It was really annoying because it was affecting my racing, and I was still trying to race as a professional. And I raced in 2010, 11, 12, Yeah, that was it. And then 13 it stopped. I got offered a job with Honda, and I went off and did different things. I didn't need to race for an income. So yeah, it was crap. And I went back to Hawkstone to race. And I remember, as soon as I got there, the color of the dirt, the smell, seeing the trees, I just was like, what am I doing here? This is just enough. Go home. You've rode enough motorbikes, you've done enough racing, you don't need to be here. But it was something I wanted to overcome, and I don't know what the way to describe it really, but it just was in me that I wanted to overcome it. But yeah, big smash.
Yeah, but I remember it well. Paul Coward has just come on. He's put, I had a call at the end of 97 off Harry from the CAS scaffolding asking what I thought of I told him any rider who drives another 4 hours from me in Cumbria after riding all day at a British deserves some help. The rest is history. You're in the sport, Paul Coward.
Very good. Yeah, Paul knows all about driving up and down the length of England to race motorbikes. And he would have been arriving home to a dairy farm to work through the night or all through the next day and onwards. As did I, like same. My early part of my career racing in British Championships, I wasn't a professional. I worked in Russell's Motorcycles as a mechanic in the workshop, and the team, the crew that we had, we all had day jobs. Getting the ferry and getting in the van and driving through the night to race British Championships, and driving through the night to get home to be at your work on Monday morning. That's what it was. That's what we did, and we didn't know any different. You just got on with it. But yeah, you had to be committed. It wasn't something that you just were having a bit of a go at. You were proper in, like.
Someone's mentioned about do you remember about the old Welsh in the 98 Wednesday nights in Ryder? I think it was on kit, yeah. And the Dash for Cash. Also, there was Sean Grosvenor, Mark Hucklebridge, Rob Herron, etc. Great nights.
That's right, yeah. Sean was a rocket, and he would hold his own against, British Championship guys and Grand Prix riders, and those races were definitely a dash for cash. There were short, sharp races and cutthroat, qualifying lap intensity, one after another, bang, bang, bang. Like, it was busy. It was always like, oh yeah, I'll do a bit of a race on a Wednesday night. It'll be a bit of fun. No way. It was
hardcore rush.
It was proper.
Yeah, proper. I remember it well. Alex Duganier has put, what song brings back the best motocross memory? Venga Boys, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Alex D.
There's only one. It's Darude and the Sandstorm, because they played that at the start of every Grand Prix during the early noughties. So Darude, Sandstorm, 100%.
Mark Unwin's put, favourite teammate?
Well, Herring was, a joy. Herring was my teammate in 2000, but he got injured immediately in California. He crashed and wrecked his wrist. So we didn't get the full teammate experience. But I would say Rob. Jussi Väyväläinen was just comedy gold. Like, it was just constant fun with Jussi, and he's brilliant character. As was Yoshi Yatsuda, but I spent a lot of time with Jussi. We had great times. It was good now.
I did a written interview with him back a few months ago. It was good fun. Someone's put, how was it racing Josh Coppins?
Difficult. Josh was always very well prepared. He was textbook. You could always count on him to be there. He was fair. He was hard. He didn't tire. And when he eventually got his top speed, he was somewhat unbeatable. He was denied a world championship when he fully deserved to be given it. I liked racing with Josh. He was a strong competitor, hard guy to beat.
Yeah, very competitive. Did you have a favourite race number, Gordon? Was there any numbers that you liked that you over your career that you? I know it went down on championships and things like that later on, but was there numbers? Was there a reason you liked certain numbers?
It was based on your championship positions up until I think about 05. I think around 05 they introduced this career number option, which I didn't really like. I liked the honour of riding with the number on your bike from where you finished the year before. So I liked it that way. I developed a fondness of number 13. In 99, I finished 13th in the World Championship, and then automatically was given it for year 2000, which I accepted. I think you can forgo it, but I accepted it and said, yep, I'm going to run 13. And it kept showing up. The number kept appearing. We found that 13 just appeared. We got factory suspension from Showa, and the batch number was like 013. I got a batch of helmets from Laser, same. 13 was like the last numbers in the batch, and frame numbers 13 would show up, and weird things kept happening when 13 kept appearing. You know, you'd be driving somewhere before sat navs, and so how far is it to Calais? Oh, well, let's have a look at the next road sign 13. You know, I'd get a flight and the seat number 13A. You know, this just started to appear, and it's not like I'm aware that you can look for it, and if you look for it, you find it. But this wasn't the case of that. It just, there's 13 there in Talavera. It used to just show up. So I had some superstitious belief that it counted for something, and that would probably be the only time that I could say that was a favorite number that I had.
I did have a question about that as well. Did you actually have, other than that number thing, did you have any superstitions? The others, some guys have obviously got some serious weird ones that we've discussed.
I got some weird thing in my head. Had to be left sock, left foot into the shorts, left knee brace, left trouser, left boot. I got some weird thing with that, and it only ever happened whenever I went to put on my short or my sock or my knee brace. It was only then, and it doesn't happen to me today. Like, I don't get dressed in the morning and go, oh, left foot, left leg. You know, it just happened racing, and I started to think that if I didn't do it, I could be at some risk, you know, and it's total nonsense, absolute, complete and utter nonsense. But that happened. There was other things that, and I still do this today. If I get a thought about something terrible that's maybe going to happen, or something negative that's going to happen, and if I keep it in and don't say it, I feel that it's strengthening the chances of it happening. So I would have said that in racing things. You know, if I had looked at my bike and thought to myself, oh yeah, chain could break. You know, if I didn't actually speak out and say, yeah, chain's all right, isn't it? Like, you know, chain's okay, it's not going to break. Things like that. But we're talking, these are very, very small things. In terms of superstitions, I know that there are other people that have lucky shorts and lucky t-shirts and all sorts of things.
Yeah. We'll go through some of your pictures actually quickly now. There's a short. First, when was it?
That is Sweden in Uddevalla. Yeah, Uddevalla. I'll tell you, if you've got the time, I'll tell you a funny story about that. So Nick Mears is there, and Brad.
I see Nick Moore's there. Yeah.
So the day before was MotoGP in Assen in Holland, and they raced on a Saturday in Assen, and a friend of mine, Jeremy McWilliams, he won the MotoGP. This is 2001, and he was racing against Rossi, and it was a big deal. And back then I was a big campaigner to promote Northern Ireland, and I was all about, you know, the Ulster man, and I'd been, taking great pleasure in walking about the paddock on Saturday evening, or just generally with the team, always saying, "Oh, here, did you hear about that guy from Northern Ireland who won the Grand Prix today?" What? And I'd be like, "Yeah, Jeremy McWilliams, he won the MotoGP." So this was now Sunday, the next day in Uddevalla, and I just crossed the line. I just won the Grand Prix, and Brad, as soon as I crossed, he had just said to me, "Hey, did you hear about that guy from Northern Ireland who won the Grand Prix today?" Meaning me.
Yeah.
So this is the joke. This is
cool,
what we were laughing at. So it captured a great moment.
That's brilliant. I got something like that.
Is Johnny right?
Something like a bit of a one back in the day there.
1996, the Coupe de l'Avenir, which is the under 21.
Yeah. I remember that meeting,
in Belgium, in Jamanu. That was, I think, a week after the Motocross of Nations in Jerez in Spain. That was a big deal for me, competing in that under 21. And there's my teammates. That was actually the year before, in 95.
Was it?
Yeah. That was I mean, if you look at the names who we were racing against and where they got to in their careers, it just shows the level and the importance of that event. And it's a real shame that it sort of lost its way, and it still exists, and it's still on the calendar, but I don't think it's treated with the same respect as it used to then. Maybe EMX 250 and EMX 125 has something to contribute to that, but back then, that was your opportunity as a teenager to race against similar aged riders from all around the world, and Grant Langston and Steve Ramon and all the top guys went through that, didn't they? Yeah. And I mean, and I knew how prestigious that event was, because prior to my day racing there, Jeannie Dobbs and Paul Malins, and I remember Jason Higgs racing at it, and the British guys. It was always in Motorcycle News or Trials and Motocross News. You always saw it. And even Motivision, I think, did a piece on it. Maybe 91 or 92, something like that. So I understood the event had some caliber at it. No, I was chuffed. Kips and herring. Yeah. Everybody had a bad hair day that day. That was an international race in Lisburn, a track called Ivy Hill. There was a very active promoter who brought these guys over. Jimmy Walker, the father of Jeff Walker. Kips and Rob would have come over a couple of times throughout the year, I think, and I was the local man racing on the local track and wanting to be the local winner, and on that particular day that's what happened, and it was a brilliant way for me to gauge my level against ultimately British Championship, British champions. Kips was current British champion, and Rob had umpteen British championships under his belt, so it was a brilliant way of me finding out where I was or where I needed to get to.
Yeah, very nice. That's a nice one there.
Oh, the Supercross or Arena Cross in the Odyssey Arena. Yeah, I think that was a victory of maybe the LCQ, something like that. That was a old school Finnish flag celebration. Yeah, classic 100.
Great crowd, great atmosphere.
Oh, mega in there. You 5,000 people, and right back in the day, they had air horns. Health and safety put a stop to that, but it was, you just felt so connected to the audience, and the action on the track. Really good. It's wonderful way of showcasing the sport to the local audience who maybe aren't interested in motocross or know anything about it. Oh yeah, Talavera. Yeah, Pichon and Bollet, the two Frenchies, and me stuck in the middle. Yeah, I would say that. I think that's. I can't remember if that was after the first race or maybe the second. That could be actually.
Spain, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be the overall. And there's cigarette advertising Winfield.
Yeah,
That shows you, you know, no energy drinks.
No.
No. And there's a good mate of mine in the background, Paul McGuire, and myself. We're racing in Bells Hill, 1996. You may think I'm wearing pajamas, but those are actually Jimmy Aird. Scott Leathers was the company. He sponsored me with those lovely attire. Yeah, but no money. Like my mum and dad, we'd absolutely damn all money. Look at the state of the helmet and the goggles and everything. Those goggles were given to me from McGuire, actually.
Was that?
Yeah, no, we were skint.
I see the two different roll-offs on either side, look.
Yes, yeah, the canisters. Well, they were forever smashing off. They were.
They were. I remember that.
Yeah. No,
deadly, wasn't it?
It's mad when you even look at the safety involved there, like plastic screws holding on a plastic chin guard, like you face plant the ground,
an arrow,
and you've a few teeth missing and a broken nose.
There's a one back in there.
Oh, it isn't half. Yeah. Same helmet still.
I see that.
Yeah, that's. I think that is Leitrim at Hearns Farm, another Irish championship. I was riding a 125, 1995. Yeah, we all started somewhere.
Yeah, left the 125 days.
And that was the Suzuki that I spoke of earlier when I was our teammates with Brooks. Relentless energy drink at the time. I struggled. I just didn't gel with Suzuki. I tried all manner of different things. At one point, I put an entire CRF front end in it, clamps, forks, brake, wheel, the whole lot. Just couldn't get the bike to steer the way I wanted it to. It just didn't work for me. Really, really frustrating because I loved the team, loved everything that we were doing. Just I just couldn't get comfortable with the geometry of how the bike steered. It was just didn't work.
I always ask most of the guys this because Fox Hill's my hometown in Swindon and track, so I think that's Fox Hill there by the looks of it. What did you think? What did you think of Fox Hill, Gordon?
Well, I first raced there in '97 at the 250 Grand Prix. I had a wild card entry. Loved it. I'd been there in '95 and '96 to watch as a spectator. The obvious is the hills, the incline and decline, breathtaking, going off those drops. The clay, the dirt, was to me unique. There wasn't very many other circuits that were similar to that. Maybe Ellsworth a little bit, but it's that type of that grey, that white sort of clay, had a lot of traction, and then of course the blue groove and the rock hard and the chalk coming through, which is fine, but spectacular circuit, an international circuit by all means, and I love riding laps of it. I found that particularly that year, those later years, the speed was high. I found it difficult to make up time, to find areas of the track where I could gain margins on anybody else, and that became frustrating. It felt that it just felt that it was just too wide open, and there wasn't anywhere where it was tricky or naggery or slow, or not enough corners maybe to be able to make or lose time. But I mean, I hope the place continues for as long as it possibly can.
They still seem to be using it. Yeah, they've made quite a few changes to it, put in a few unusual jumps and stuff as they do, but
yeah,
some bomb holes and stuff. But yeah, they're still using it in the British Championship. There's some cool ones of you in there.
Oh yeah,
love the whole JT. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Kids of
one
today
there.
wouldn't get it. Yeah,
No.
that's Farley. Yeah.
Yeah, love the old school ones there.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's Tim and his yeah, that was Lockett. A couple of years ago, I think. And I think it would have been a Geyser victory, given that we're down there in the ceremony area.
I think that might be Fox Hill potentially, is it?
It is, yeah. 98, yeah.
You and Coops?
Yeah, it's Wake's clone.
Someone actually did put, I saw a question just before I went on here, someone put Hiley, Wake's Cone or Ling.
That's definitely Wake's clone there. Yeah.
As in, like, I presume they're asking you what you would prefer track-wise. Oh, look at this one.
Oh, there's Mailer.
You're a Mailer.
yeah, that's Canada Heights. I think I enjoyed Ling more than Wake's clone. Sand is sand, no matter where you are in the world, sand is the same. Whereas I found that Wake's clone had a particular dirt that I never had an opportunity to practice on anything similar to that. And my background here certainly didn't have dirt similar to there. So I found it a circuit that I just didn't find it easy to be fast around Wake's clone. Whereas around Ling, I could do all the preparation work in the local sand tracks that we had here. And Ling was always a difficult track to pass on until you got to the outfield, the backfield. That was about the only time that you weren't on and off camber with a one berm, you know. Ling always seemed to have like an off camber and then just one sand berm. And you were just racing from berm to berm, point to point, until you got to that backfield where it got choppy and you could set somebody up outside, inside, you know, line them up, I'd drag them up the hill maybe. That was about the only time that you could really do any sort of passing. But I liked Ling more than I did Wake's clone.
What was the Kawasaki like?
That worked brilliant for me, that bike. Big open steering, slow, stable bike. It just suited me. And that was the year following I was on the Suzuki. They were chalk and cheese. The Suzuki was understeer everywhere. Very positive steering bike. That bike was a big open offset, slow. Felt like the handlebars were wide. Just big, comfortable bike, and it worked for what I wanted it to do. So I really liked that bike, actually. It was positive. It was good.
What did the KTM handle like?
Badly. It had PDS. It didn't have a linkage. It wasn't. There was multiple reasons why the whole configuration didn't work. The engine wasn't usable power. It was very top end, peaky, strong power, loads of power, but all at the very, very top. So it didn't. You couldn't ride it using the torque and using the strength. It was an on-off switch for power, is how it felt, which had an impact on the handling. So you had high RPM, high energy, a lot of wheel spin, and I hated it. It wasn't what I wanted at all. Whenever I first tested with the bike, everything about it felt stiff. The seat was hard, clamps were hard, the suspension was hard, everything stiff. You know, big fat spokes, big rigid rims, nothing had any flex, and everything that you hit you felt it. You know, and it made me feel nervous. So you're on something that everything felt rigid and stiff and no flex, and then in your right hand you had a button to go top speed, no speed, top speed, no speed, and that was how it felt. So I really disliked how the bike felt, and I found it hard to be fast riding that thing.
Frustrating.
Yeah. That's my dad, Dave.
That's how I remember you in the prime of
That's right.
The old Red Bull helmet. And
Yeah. Farley,
very nice.
2000, winning my first British. That's when that image was taken from. Yeah.
Nice one there.
There's more Farley. Yeah. Yeah. That was Motocross of Nations, I think, at Donington. The man-made circuit wouldn't have been my favourite, let's say. I think that is Langrish. British Championship, I would say, given the Maxis banners. 09.
See you on that.
Yeah, that was 08. That's Fox Hills as well. So it is, the first turn. 01 in the CAS bike. I think that's Learop, actually. You see the wee spiky spikes on the tires, the front tire, the spiky tire. Yeah.
I like the old school ones again.
Yeah.
Is that Farley?
Yeah, that's up the steps at Farley, yeah. British 06 450 Honda riding for Roger. Grand Prix somewhere, could be. Oh, it's Clogs. That'll be Valkenswaard, I would say, given the Clogs as a prize. That's Wake's Clone, I think. That was the year of Foot and Mouth.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Yeah. The first British Championship was super late in the year. I had to friggin' wait. It's a bit similar to this year. Whole world crashing around.
It goes without saying, Gordon, but did you like riding the number one? Did you not? You didn't feel pressure by that? You just was proud to be running the number one?
Yeah.
Is that your perspective?
I fully embraced the number one. Yeah. Yeah. That was 04. Yeah, that's a race at home here. Yeah.
Like the number one.
Yeah. I think that's Wake's Clone as well. Same muddy race. 06 450. The images,
great
like
times,
my career, internet wasn't really around, digital images, all that stuff, getting images of back then. And that's why I remember those, the locations and everything so clearly. Just the photographs, that you saw them maybe in DBR or Trials of Motocross or something.
Yeah. What's MX large here?
Oh, okay, Jeff. Grubbin Dog. So I know I'll make an assumption. Jeff runs MX Large, as you can see. So the Grand Prix in Belgium was held in Grobbendonk in 2000, and it rained and rained and rained and rained so much on the Saturday. The track was below the level of the canal next to it, I think. But basically, it rained so much that the whole track flooded. It was totally and utterly underwater. And I looked at it and I went, there is no chance whatsoever that there's going to be a race on Sunday. This was Saturday. The 125s raced. Dauber or Mike Brown might have won it, actually. There's old images or video footage of just these tidal waves of water, of them getting around the track. So we went to the beer tent on Saturday night because we just went, there's no chance there's going to be a race. And qualifying, and I think everything had already gone ahead, I think. But woke up on Sunday morning to find that the race was going ahead, and the fire brigade, local authorities had, councils, they'd got the fire brigade in and they'd pumped out all of the water. The rain had stopped and the race went ahead. And Jeff's probably having a giggle because, like I said, we'd gone to the beer tent on the Saturday night thinking there's no race. And we rarely would have had a free weekend. So given that we've got a Saturday night in Belgium, there's a beer tent on the go and you've loads of Belgian fans and, probably a band on, be a bit of fun. So you take the opportunity. And Sunday came round and the race was happening, so I had to deal with not having had much sleep, and we raced. But I got I won. Basically, that's the good part of this story.
That's a good part, yeah.
Is that I was able to win the Grand Prix, and there was 2 motos, and it was hard, like 45 minutes, rough after Saturday night in the beer tent. Not an easy task to ask, but I was probably guilt driven by the whole thing. We got the job done, as the Americans like to say, and what a sense of relief when we got the result that we did, and put that behind us. But it was honestly, I wish I had some photos or images of the track on Saturday night, because you would not have thought that there was going to be a race. You never would have thought. It was just underwater. You just were like, nah, there's no race, no way.
We can go and chill out.
So there you go. Thank you for that, Jeff.
Bringing that up. Richard Hamilton's put, hi Gordon, would you say that you are more content today with your lovely wife, new baby boy, John the dog, and the 3 donkeys, and your current role with Honda, and the glory days on the GP scene?
Well, I am content today, because that's all behind me. The racing is all behind me, and what I wanted to do back then was that was it. There wasn't anything else. I was single-minded, and at that time I was available to apply myself, and instead of looking to find a wife and make a family and settle down and get a stable job, I essentially was chasing the dream. I was going after something that was total risk in all sense. If I'd have walked into a bank manager and said, how about a loan? I'm thinking of starting up this company, Crockstar Limited. I'm going to race motorbikes and make loads of money. They'd chase you out of the bank and say, catch yourself on, go and get a real job, stop dreaming. Quite like my careers teacher told me in school. But I had that energy and I had that desire, and I was gifted with I suppose having people around me who supported that, and that would be my family, my mum, my dad, my sisters, my friends, the people who didn't tell me to catch myself on and go and get a job. They looked at it and they supported every time I wanted to race and wanted to train and wanted to practice. And because that's out of my system, I'm not thinking that way anymore. It's done, it's over, let's move on. And I've absolutely no aspirations to race motorbikes now, or even in the late years of my career, I didn't want to try and push to win another British Championship or go after Grand Prix glory. And it's really weird to understand yourself whenever you're in that zone. You win a British Championship, you win a British title, you win Grand Prix races, you achieve your goals, and you kind of go, okay, what next? But you can't, because you're a bike racer and that's your living and that's your income, and you don't know anything else. So you sort of have to keep finding ways to motivate yourself. And I was very much like, that was an amazing experience. I know how that feels. I don't really have a big motivation to achieve it again, because I already know. And I'm thinking, right, there's other stuff in life, there's other things that I'm more interested in, but you're a wee bit cornered because it's your occupation, and to down tools from professional motocross racing and go and get a job somewhere else that gives you the same sort of income or pleasure, those things don't exist, so you just keep on racing, and you're maybe not enjoying it, but you do it, you're getting a few quid, and it's still fun. But it's hard to have that, whatever it takes attitude, to go after something that you've already done. It's quite hard to explain, but yeah, to answer Richard, I am content, and I'm happy that I'm married, and I'm blessed that I've got a son, and lucky to have pets, and it's great.
Someone's got to mention them donkeys. I love that. I love that, Gordon. Adam Pryor put, "Hi League, does Gordon know Gary Moults, the Irish MX sidecar GP rider? And has Gordon a fans of the show? He did mention earlier about his go at Western. He went in at the deep end at Western Supermare. Wow.
Yeah, no, that's true. I do know, yes, I do. And sidecars, I did the Western Beach race with him. And I didn't have the opportunity, and I was still racing as a professional motocrosser, so I wasn't going to think, oh, I'll make the switch from motocross to go and try and race professionally as a sidecar driver. The sidecars don't get the recognition that they deserve. I think since YouTube came along, they've probably got a bit more respect with some of the footage of the jumps that they do. And I remember whenever it could have been a world round that came to Canada Heights, and some of the images and footage got into our mainstream motocross media, and I remember people being like, wow, look at the guys on the sidecar doing the tabletop and jumping the step down. And I'm like, yeah, they're the real deal, but you can't, unless you've ever been on a sidecar, you can't appreciate how difficult it is to do. So they don't get that respect or recognition or admiration because people can't relate to it. It's very similar to motocross. Why is cricket, darts, golf, soccer, tennis, why are those sports more followed than motocross? It's because we've all kicked a soccer ball, we've all hit a golf club, we've all thrown a dart, we've all swung a tennis racket, and we've sliced them and kicked them off into your neighbour's greenhouse and blah, blah, blah. And then you watch, somebody curl a ball around a defence wall and into the top corner of the net. It's like Formula One or cars. We all drive cars and we can go round the roundabout and the wheels screech at 30 mile an hour. And then you watch Lewis Hamilton in his terrible car go around a corner at 180 mile an hour, and you're just, wow, how? Whereas somebody who watches motocross or trials or sidecars, or any of the other off-road disciplines that aren't accessible, you can't appreciate how difficult it is. So it doesn't get the respect, it doesn't get the following. And look at how boring those sports are. The mainstream sports are boring to watch. Yeah. You watch American Supercross, you watch motocross, it's exciting, but people aren't interested because they don't think it's hard. So
twist and go and all that.
Sit on it.
I got someone no name on there, but Gordon, do you miss practicing at the home of motocross in Whedon?
Yeah. I spent some time doing some laps around there. You do a lot of practicing. You spend more time practicing than you do racing. And there's lots of places that are just brilliant fun to ride. Whedon was dead on. It was good.
Richard put, can I ask what your training regime was when you were racing?
It had different. It wasn't the same all the way through, all year through. You had different periods where you did different things. Basically, you had to get fit and be in shape at the start of the season, and then maintain that throughout the year, without getting burnout, without peaking in March, and then being spent come August. So you had to manage it. But the first thing you needed to do was you needed to develop your body, muscle groups, lung, heart, your cardiovascular. You had to have those things. So that meant that in the winter time you had to do a structured plan of how you were going to actually get those tools in place before you started. And you got to ride as well, because there's muscle groups that you don't get from any sort of circuit training or gym work on other than riding the bike. problem with riding the bike to increase your physical condition is risk of injury. Because when you're practicing on the bike, my theory was you should be pushing to go fast, not just circulating around at the same speed for 40 minutes. I never did 40-minute motos for practicing. I practiced on my bike to learn how to go fast and to improve my base speed. And then I did the physical training to sort out the lungs, muscles, heart, all that side. So there wasn't a fixed regime. That you had to simulate how you felt on the bike. That to me was a good way of maintaining, so running is the easy go-to. It's the most efficient way. There's things that matter. It's been a while since I've had to think about this because I'm not working on myself anymore, but you've got intensity, duration, and frequency, and the higher those are in whatever it is you're doing, then the faster you'll get results. So intensity of cycling versus running, well, running's higher intensity, so to do that. And then duration, if you can run for 20 minutes, great, but if you can run for 40 minutes at a high intensity, even better. And then frequency, so like if you can run twice a week at high intensity for 40 minutes, super. If you can run 4 times a week, you're just going to get faster results. So I always was a runner, and I look to that. But the running doesn't do anything for your strength, so you have to try and find a way to incorporate strength training and conditioning of your muscles, but not be a bodybuilder. You needed to think about, how does my body feel whenever I get tired on the bike? You think, right, so are my arms like just totally blown out, and I don't have strength from the word go? Like, have I got cocktail sticks for arms and I haven't actually got the strength? Or is it that the fatigue comes in and I can't sustain it? So each person is individual. We're all different shapes and sizes. We've all got different strengths, and we've all got different, I suppose, discipline and on how we manage ourselves. A lot of people that I saw throughout my career, and I even see it now, they choose to go and ride the bike, and they'll clock up the hours riding the bike instead of actually going through the pain and suffering of hard physical training. Because it's you're ticking a box. What did you do this week? I went out on my bike 3 times and I did my motos. And you got to ask, well, how hard did you push? Like, was there sweat on your neck whenever you came in from your motos? Or like, were you still just cool and you took some photographs for Instagram?
Was there a fine line, Gordon, between like sort of like the rest and recovery as well as the training? Because I've seen a lot of the guys sort of, sometimes you hear about them overtraining and that type of thing as well.
Yeah,
can be a problem absolutely.
As well. You've very much got to listen to your body, and you've got to learn to be very, very honest with yourself about, am I looking to be tired so that I can say I'm tired? It's better today not to go for the run. And it's just a coincidence that it's raining and it's dark and it's really windy, and there's something on the TV, or my girlfriend's coming around. You've got to really be honest with yourself. But there's rest is part of recovery, and you need, keeping a diary and keeping a log and understanding things. And if you want to get scientific and start measuring, of course, that's more information. But sometimes the more information you get, it can make things complicated. Back in the day, Rocky Balboa, they just knew, bust yourself, train as hard as you can, get exhausted, throw up, I'm so tired, that's a good day's training. It's not necessarily true, because then you're faced with so much lactic acid and such a longer recovery period time. So there is a science to it, and it's not specific to motocross. You can get any of this information in a library or online. It's just physical training. It's not complicated.
Someone put on there, this is a good question as well, that obviously the AMCA British champions Championship, sorry, has got hot in the last couple of years, and the British Championship riders are entering that series. Do you think that the British Championship is losing riders due to the lack of sponsors and teams and the lack of funds?
Well,
it's in the last sort of few years, Gordon.
It's not my specialist subject, the British scene, so I don't feel qualified to comment. Riders will, I suppose, choose where they ride for multiple different reasons. If you're genuinely trying to put a roof over your head and food on the table and you're trying to make a living, you'll go wherever you can make your profit, and that's in essence a professional sports person. There's other reasons why some riders may ride in different championships. They might want to be the big fish in the small pond and win, as opposed to, you know, just being another number in the middle of the pack. So I don't honestly know. It could be down to the circuits. You know, they might choose that the British Championship circuits are maybe circuits that they're bored of riding. They may be the same circuits. Totally hypothetically, you know, speculating. There's so many things. But a start point is I don't know enough about either of those championships to be able to comment on why riders will go to either one.
Yeah, fair enough. Sean, how was your time racing the GNCC in the States? I remember you.
Frustrating, extremely frustrating. I was trying to switch disciplines from Grand Prix motocross to off-road, which is what, you know, enduro, GNCC, hare scrambles. I was trying to make that switch, and I signed a 2-year contract with factory BMW to ride their all new unproven GX 450, I think it was. And I went to America to race, and it was a disaster from the word go. The entity who had the contract with BMW to do the American side was a former 9-time GNCC champion called Scott Summers. Scott got the deal to run the BMW team, and Scott, so I was contracted with Scott, and Scott, I can't speak fully with fact, but as I understand, he filed a lawsuit to BMW in Germany because they hadn't delivered the BMW bikes on time. BMW owned Husqvarna at that time, so BMW sent Husqvarna bikes. So Scott, 1 week before the opening round in Daytona, he said, right, you better get over here. We've got Husqvarnas to ride. What do you want to ride? A 252 stroke, a 454 stroke, a 510 4-stroke, a 300 2-stroke. And I'm like, I don't know. Jesus. He says, do you want to ride a motocross bike, or do you want to ride an enduro bike or a cross-country bike? So we went and we tested, and we went, and it was just a disaster from word go. Like, we were totally and utterly disorganized. We didn't have large fuel tanks. I was stopping every lap. Normally in GNCC, it's a 3-hour race, and you'd run a massive tank and you'd stop once. I was running a stock motocross tank and stopping every single lap. It was nonsense. So the whole thing fell apart, and in the end, I came home and the contract was terminated between Scott and BMW, and the whole thing failed. And my performances under the circumstances that I was in were not good results. So I wasn't even of value to the market to try and pick up a ride somewhere else in GNCC. And I had completely had a gutful. Just the whole experience was awful. And I just didn't want to be part of it. Left, came home. That was that end of.
Yeah. Glenn Phillips has come up and put he remembers racing in that as well, on the Coupland as an experience when I done it in '97 at 14. Yeah. And there was a 12-hour enduro race day before the meeting.
Yeah, the circuit they ran. That's exactly what he's saying. That they ran an event, multi-lap multi-rider event the day before on the same track. So we got the circuit on Sunday destroyed. You know, it was so rough and just incredible, really. So I think that's why Glenn remembers that. Was the track was just extreme.
Someone's put Trevor King. Thanks for doing this, Croc. Star.
Oh, most welcome.
Someone's put on here about the learning your trade in God's country where the summers are wet and you go to train in the mud quite often. Do you ever consider doing the wild and woolly for fun?
No, because the wild and woolly is held at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Throughout my career. Pardon?
Is it Boxing Day? Is it or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. No, I've spent an awful lot of time racing and riding motorbikes, and whilst doing that, other things are getting sacrificed. And that's when you're sort of a professional, or even when you're a young kid, giving up things to try and make it. So I've not had no, I just don't want to.
No, exactly. Get a bit wet and wild doing that as well, literally. Right, I'll ask a couple more of your questions, guys, and then we'll let Gordon go, get back to his family and enjoy the rest of the evening. We've got Jody Holford, put great watching him and Rhino going at it a few years back at Farley.
Yeah, Ryan Hughes. Yeah. Yeah. He was fit and he was fast, and that's a combination which is hard to beat. And I was so up for winning, and we ended up in a pile of, you know, steaming metal in one occasion. And I mean, that's racing at the end of the day, you know. These things can happen, and we're back to the old, Farley's just a bit of fun, but it's not. It's a motorbike race, you know.
It turns into competitive weather, yeah.
Think about you and a bunch of friends that go to a go-kart center and have a go-kart race. Yeah. Like, you're driving, you're gripping onto that steering wheel.
Totally, yeah.
You know, you're going for it, and you smash your buddy into the tires, and you don't care if he's got a sore back. You know, I'm going to win. And it's the same. You go motorbike racing, and it's automatic. You put the helmet on, and off you go. The competitive side just comes pouring out.
That's why when people keep asking me if I'm going to ride again, it's been like 20 years. That's a long time. And I'm like, I've only ever raced. So when people do that, come and have a chill out, you know, come to Farley, do this. And I'm like, I've never done that. So I don't think that would be wise.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
It's hard work. Adam Winslet, that does the old interviews as well, VDMX, he's put David Knight said that the BMW was shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I can elaborate. There's no problem. David rode the bike the year after me. I did test with BMW in Europe before going to the States, and I mean, GNCC racing is very different to enduro. You know, what David and Juha were doing in enduro was different to what I was doing in the States, in the woods. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even get to ride the BMW in America. It didn't even make it that far. We were stuck on the old Husqvarnas. The testing that I did on the BMW in Europe, I thought was okay. But let's face it, I was a motocrosser with zero enduro experience, testing a BMW just by itself. You know, I wasn't cross-referencing. I wasn't comparing a BMW to a factory KTM enduro bike. You know, David had come from a background of multiple enduro world championships on factory enduro bikes, and then getting onto the BMW, where, you know, that's a strong comparison. Whereas I was coming from racing motocross to then riding a BMW up a dry riverbed in Spain, and I don't know how it's supposed to feel. Like, I'm just dealing with rock, root, water, stone, go fast. I'm trying to, deal with what's presented with me right in front of me and adapt and learn. I'm not riding it thinking, oh, my KTM, my factory KTM enduro bike wouldn't have felt like this. It wouldn't have kicked sideways off that rock. Whereas I'm totally and utterly blank canvas, layman, coming in, riding a BM up a dry riverbed, not knowing what way it should behave. So I wouldn't be able to comment and say, yeah, it was good or yeah, it was bad, because I didn't ride it enough to get any sort of data to compare against anything else. But I know David well, and we have had conversations about the BM, and his opinion is very, very strong on it.
I see Adam Lyons has just come on.
We haven't got time, is the thing. We haven't got time. I'd love to, but yeah.
But thank you, Lee, and to you, GC. It's so much better than having to watch the soaps with the missus. Merry Christmas. We get that a lot.
Brilliant.
Richard, Merry Christmas, Gordon. What are the plans for the big day?
Turkey, ham, changing nappies, feeding bottles. Might have a glass of Bailey's. I might watch the Queen's speech. That's pretty much it. Nothing exciting.
Nothing exciting. But just before you go, I was going to ask you about obviously what you're currently doing now with the off-road racing manager for Honda. How's that going? Do you enjoy that role? And
yeah, I do. It's a desk job. Ultimately, it's business. I'm dealing with a corporation who have a business, and they are trying to sell CRF units. They're trying to promote the image and reputation of Honda, and they're trying to gain feedback from their racing activity to make a better product to sell to the consumers. So yes, we're going motorbike racing, but there's a lot more to it than that. It's not just a case of there's some money, go and get some riders, get some teams, and get results. That's throwing money away. Doing that, there's a real plan in place on what we're doing, and I'm in my specialist field. Let's say, I've studied motocross for 30 years. I've competed as a hobby guy, as a professional, as a retired rider. I've been on Honda teams. I've been in Grand Prix teams. I've been through. I've dealt with the race series promoter when we did the Honda 150 championship. So all of that combined, it gives me a lot of insight to be able to work with the tasks that are presented to me, dealing with media, riders, mechanics. That is something that I have been on the ground as a foot soldier, and dealt with those operational things. So I understand it, and I think that is better than the suit and tie guy who deals with numbers and a calculator and line graphs and pie charts and spreadsheets, who is trying to go on racing. And teams, riders, mechanics, they can't reason with somebody like that, whereas I feel with me, because of my background, they're able to talk to me about what they're doing, and they know that you would hope that they think I understand it. So that's quite a strength, I think, to have. And then just having the ability to do all of the other business side, the office stuff, the admin, managing the budgets and the money and all of the legal side, which is totally and utterly, very important, because it's a service that I'm having to provide to Honda. I'm protecting them, and they're putting their faith in me, that all of that side of things is done correctly. So it's good. I think I'm very young for the position that I'm in, which I think is helpful because I'm current. I can still ride. I can look and I can watch racing, and I can, the years aren't that so long ago that I'm not able to look at it and go, all right, okay. So it's all right. It's a job where you're on call. There's no hours. It's not 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You're at it all the time. And it's like anybody that owns their own company or their own business, your brain is going. And it's sometimes hard to switch off from that. And you've got to manage that, because you'll burn out otherwise. You've got to pick what you're going to do and prioritize what you're going to do. And at some point, for the good of your own well-being and your own longevity in the job, you've got to draw a line under it and go, I'll leave that to tomorrow. So it's okay. There's times when stuff comes along, and it's like a bus that comes along, and you've got to get on it to get to the next bit. And if you miss it, you miss the opportunity. Or there's a flow of how procedures go, and I'm a key part of that. And if I don't act, if I don't take that phone call, or if I don't reply to that email, I can paralyze the whole thing. And we miss the opportunity, or something goes wrong, or so this is where you've got to be open to essentially be on call and do stuff and be on the ball, not like, oh, it's Monday morning, I made a mistake. You've got to be switched on to things.
Got a lot of responsibility as well.
It feels like that. And I'm honoured to have the opportunity to, take the challenge and do the work. It gets better as you learn more. A lot of the times you come back round on the same problems that you've maybe been faced with before, and you can use the experience the first time to much faster arrive to a solution, or maybe find a better solution. So it's good that way, and there's no handbook. It can feel quite lonely sometimes because there isn't a help desk that I can call up and say, here, what do you think I should do? So you got to be confident, and you got to be prepared to put your head on the chopping block, and you just need to know your facts and be very I just think you've got to be really documented with what you're doing to keep track of things. And it's tricky because it's not Gordon, it's the Honda guy, and Gordon has to be the Honda guy. So I've got to always think, right, what Honda want to do, not what does Gordon want to do. And it's keeping in mind the objectives of why they're spending money and why they're going racing, which quite often don't align with what the teams and riders want. And I'm faced all the time with having to give news to people that they don't want, and I hate it, but it's just, there's no point in stringing anybody along. You just get very quickly to the point and you go, no, that's it, that's just no. And they're like, but it's Honda, that's massive, you're a huge corporation, what do you mean you can't do it, you've no budget left? And I'm like, there's a limit. That's why, we're competing against KTM. That hurts. KTM off-road dirt bike sales, that's their primary business. They've got Red Bull in their pocket, they've loads of money, and it's their priority to succeed and win, and they're dominating. Now, I know that Geyser is world champion, but if you look at it, largely KTM are doing a very, very good job in all of their off-road activities. But you'd like to think that they are, given what resources they have and actually who their competition is. Honda have Formula One, MotoGP, World Superbikes, touring cars, power boats. They've got an entire business of selling cars and generators and lawnmowers and outboards. Their primary business is not selling off-road dirt bikes. So you can see where the level of priorities come whenever Honda are looking down their motorsport activity, and where motocross fits in. Whereas KTM, it's right there at the very top. That's their primary goal, is to win in off-road.
I bet you've seen this one a few times, Gordon.
Because I had the pleasure of the company of the model range manager, let's say, for off-road, Ishida-san. He came and spent the Motocross of Nations weekend with me last year in Assen, and we went through everything. Two strokes, electric bikes, what should Honda be making? What is the future? And the reality of why is there not Honda two strokes is they made a firm decision, and this is before my time, so I can't honestly say factually, but they made a decision, I think it was in 2004, something like that Honda as a company are going green. They're making no more two strokes whatsoever, and that's it. It's a carbon footprint, save the world, environmental reason, and that's with their cars, all of their generators, everything. And that's it. And it has had a massive impact on their position in the market. If you go back to, as the gentleman referred to earlier, the 80s and 90s golden era, you had a CR60. Even before that, you had a QR50, a CR60, a CR80, a CR125, CR250, CR500, and that was the range. And you could get on that QR50 and ride red all the way. They were world champions in 500, 250, 125, and they were the bikes to have. So two strokes, that's gone now. So what have you got? You've got a CRF range, the little CRF 70s and the CRF 110s, those fun bikes are not competition bikes. So Honda aren't even in that game. You get a kid and he wants to ride a 65. Well, you can't even buy him a Honda. They don't do an 85 two-stroke. They do a CRF 150. But then where do you go from CRF 150? You go directly then to CRF 250. That's a fairly big step. So the other competitors have two strokes. They just offer what the market actually wants. So it's very painful for me that they don't make two strokes, and they're not ever going to. It's four stroke, and electric is the future. That they'll focus all of their research and development and investment into electric, not going the other direction, going back.
Got people making nice comments saying, great job, Lee, legend, Mr. Crockard. Top interview again. I saw Stuart Flockhart just come on saying, good chat, lads.
Yeah.
Got the Scottish approval as well. Thanks, Stuart, mate. How's it going? Thank you, Lee and Gordy. Great night's entertainment with GC. Merry Christmas. And another one saying, top interview again. Really enjoyed it, Gordon. Really appreciate your time, mate. Really enjoyed that.
No props. You're most welcome. It's been fun. So,
wish you a Merry Christmas, mate.
Yeah, same.
And your family.
Thanks to all who asked questions and listened in. Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Great time. Really appreciate it, Gordon. I'll keep in touch with you anyway.
No problem. Cool.
Much appreciated, mate. Take it easy.
You're welcome.
All the best.
Well,
thanks, Gordon. Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
cheers, mate. Bye. Awesome. That was brilliant with Mr. Crockard. Hope everyone enjoyed that. Really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed that interview with Gordon. That was really good. Looks like most of you enjoyed it. Thank you, Lee and Gordy. Great. Yep. Thanks very much, people. Thanks for your questions. Very good again. Much appreciated. I didn't even get, not even halfway through mine, so all good. Happy to ask your guys questions. Covered most of the ones I was going to ask anyway. So then, people, just a few things I'll just speak to you about before I go. Be back Boxing Day night if anyone didn't know about that with Speedway 1. Cheers, Lee. Cheers, Adam Pryor. Merry Christmas, mate. Hope you and your family have a great time over the next few days. Nice one. Thanks, Adam Winslet. Great interview. Thank you. Cheers, Richard Hamilton. All the best. I think after Boxing Day night interview that I'm doing with the Speedway guys, we're going to then launch the new Yamaha bike competition that we've got. If anyone didn't know, the Yamaha 220 brand new bike, 250cc 2-stroke. We'll start that we'll open it from Boxing Day night, and then people can just get in touch with me if they want to get a ticket for that. We'll sort that over that time. Obviously, anyone that doesn't know, I've got the Chad Reed kits still going, tickets for that. And the signed shirt behind me, and obviously the full with the race pants and the cool butt patch and all that on that as well. Anyone that didn't know, I'm going to be doing a Boxing Day interview with the Speedway guys, 7 p.m. UK time, Boxing Day. So we can look forward to that. John Davis and friends. I know a lot of you asked for round 2 with part 2, or whatever you want to call it, with John Davis. Everyone enjoyed that interview. Whether you was a Speedway fan or a motorcycle fan or not, I think a few people, including the missus, enjoyed that one with John Davis. So he's coming back on, and we got Neil Middleditch and American Dennis Segalos, Mr. Steve Luxton as well, the former American Gladiator, is coming on. He's got his own cool museum at his own place. He's coming on as well, and hopefully Steve Gresham, but I'm still trying to get confirmed with him. If anyone is interested in advertising or sponsors or anything, would like to get involved with me, that'd be appreciated. Got a couple going at the moment, but anyone that would want to be involved with that, with the exposure, would be cool. Stuart Hare, awesome again, Lee. Thanks, Gordon, legend. We had that chat before I come on air, Stuart, about with Lawrence. That would be a cool Speedway 1. Oh, Gav, how's it going? Happy Christmas, Mucker. Happy Christmas to you, buddy. And to your bro. And your parents, of course. Mr. and Mrs. Richmond. Hope you have a good Christmas, people. Mark Holding, Merry Christmas, mate. Super interview again. Thank you very much, Mark. Much appreciated. Absolute legend. Gordon Crockard, wasn't he? Of British motocross. Great Irish motocross rider. Did well in the GPs. Challenged for the World Championship. Was a great rider. And he's obviously now working for Honda, which is a very cool job to be involved in. Trevor King, good evening. Merry Christmas, Lee. Merry Christmas to you, Trevor, and your family. Great interview. Gordian inspiration to all. Yeah, top fella he was to talk to. Real good, in depth. Really thinks about what he's saying. Clearly, great experienced guys over the years. Great rider. He's obviously got a great family behind him now as well, so that's cool. Even the donkeys and the dog. My mum, bless her, wouldn't have been on tonight. Look, doing that, not on the motocross one. I don't think I've seen her on there tonight. And she loves the donkeys. She used to have 2 donkeys in a bar in Portugal. And I believe she's actually one of the presents she's given one of my daughters is donkey thing or something she's got on there. Great interview, Lee, David. Thank you very much. People, I think I've mentioned everything I was going to mention. So obviously you're back on Boxing Day night. Anyone that doesn't want to watch a poor movie that you've watched 10 times already on Boxing Evening, any of even you motocross fans that are on, John Davis, trust me, is box office. If none of you have ever seen that, trust me, check out that YouTube video of John Davis, former GB World Cup winning GB rider as well. He's won many meetings all over the world. Trust me, he's a great character as well. You want to check out that interview on YouTube. He'll be back on Christmas Day, as I said. JD and friends. Trust me, it'll be good. It'll be good fun on Boxing Evening. So if any of you guys have got over your Christmas presents and your Christmas dinners and your Christmas drinks, looking to chill out with a few snacks on a few beers on the Boxing Evening, come and check the interview out live on that Boxing Evening, 7 p.m. UK. Come and check it out. I'm sure we'll have some fun. And it'll be the first time I do more than one person at once. So we're looking at 3 or 4 guys at once. So it should be interesting. See how that works. We'll go for it. See what happens. So still gonna got a few more bits to sort out for Christmas. I'm sure you all have as well. My lovely other half, Lainey Lou, has been wrapping some presents for me. So much appreciated, Lainey Lou. She's listening. Is she listening? Richard Myrams, thank you, Lee. Top job as usual. Appreciate it. No problem, Richard. Absolute pleasure, mate. So, last thing I can say to you guys is have a great Christmas. Hope you all enjoy yourselves in moderation. See, look how good I am. I had a day out Christmas shopping today. Look, and I'm on the Lucasade. No gin in sight. Eh? Might try and dabble with some gin over the Christmas period. Maybe I should crack out the gin for the boxing evening. Maybe, eh? Should be interesting, shouldn't it? Should be interesting. Hope you can all join me then. But anyway, good night and God bless to you all. And I hope you all have a great Christmas. Hope you all enjoy it with your families. Stay safe, everyone. Excuse me. Hope you have a good time, and I'll hopefully be able to get see a load of you guys on boxing evening. Hopefully you can have a bit of fun. So I'll leave you with my dad's quote. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. We try and stick by that, don't we? See you soon, people. See you boxing evening, hopefully. All have a good Christmas and Happy New Year. Speak to you all soon. Ciao, Bella.